Welcome to Chris Waddell Living It, where we talk with experts in the experience of being human. My good buddy Rick D'Elia is joining us today. He's a comic. I knew him as a ski racer, but he was on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno as a recurring sketch performer, has been on shows such as Stand Up on Comedy Central, National Lampoon's Funny Money, on GSN, Comedians Unleashed on AP, Laughs on Fox, Jokesters TV on CW, Grand Slam, Comedy Jam, West Coast Comedy Stars and Encore. He's been on a lot of stuff, has entertained our troops. I want to talk about that. That's like back to the Bob Hope days. Has also done three specials for Showtime: Going Native, Green Collar Comedy Slam, and The Godfathers of Comedy. He has two books out: How to Talk to a Yankee Fan. He and I are both diehard Red Sox fans, so I share that with him. It's on my bookshelf somewhere, but my books are in storage at the moment. And the other one is Bathroom Bits. So yeah, we'll talk to, has done a bunch of different things. We'll get into a bunch of the things that he has done. I am just absolutely amazed that you've made it in comedy. And Rick, welcome. Thank you for joining the Living It podcast. And this is going to be fun. This is going to be a wild ride because you have been a funny guy your whole life. Did you know that you were going to go into comedy?
No. I fell, back asswards into it. As you know, where we grew up, and just so your viewers know, Chris and I have known each other since we were 9 and 10 years old. And everyone was funny in Massachusetts. We all had that sarcastic East Coast, cynical type of humor. So I didn't think I stood out any differently from anybody else. We were all just wise asses and always busting each other's balls. So it was just normal. When I got out and into the real world, I guess, outside of that little ski racing bubble and that small community that we grew up in, and started meeting other people, I was like, oh, other people aren't like us. Why are they laughing? Why is this funny to other people? And then it dawned on me like, oh, I guess I am funny. I just thought I was a normal masshole, from the Berkshires.
Can I tell them what you told me the first time that I won a trophy? So I'm a year younger than Rick. I'm a year younger than Rick. He was one of the best guys out there. It was really you and Galvin and Jay
Lathrop.
Jay Lathrop. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's been so long. I couldn't remember his name, but I finally poked in there. I got in there for a second place at a place called Bosque Ski Area. And after the races, everybody at the lodge would go and meet in one part of the lodge, and they'd pass out the trophies and stuff. And I'm waiting, I'm 10 years old. This is super exciting. Rick is a wizened 11-year-old at this point. And he comes up to me and says, "Hey, you've got to go to the back of the room." And I was like, "What do you mean I've got to go to the back of the room?" And he said, "You got to go to the back of the room because then they have to clap for you the whole time when you go to the front."
It's true. It's sage advice, Chris. You got to milk it, because those moments were fleeting. So you had to milk it for every second. I recognized that at age 11.
I might not have ever been there again. And what was actually even funnier for me was that I went to one of your shows and I mentioned that story to you. Do you remember what you said to me when I mentioned that story to you?
No.
You said,
what'd I say?
You said, "I don't remember that, but it sounds like me."
Yeah. I was a little cocky shit. You know what I mean? I watched the Tiger Woods documentary on HBO Go. I just saw it last night, or HBO Max, I think it was. And it reminded me a lot of kind of our childhood, because my dad was it's not that I didn't love skiing. I loved every single part of it. But I had one of those stage mom dads. Can you say that? Yeah, it's progressive, right?
He'd be a stage dad.
Stage dad.
Yeah.
And, so I literally, my earliest memories involve skis being on my feet. in the backyard when I was 2 years old. I don't remember it, of course, but we have home videos of my dad pulling me around like with a rope, and I'm on skis. And, at age 2, I can barely walk. So, by the time I was 11, I was a seasoned veteran, and, I'd probably podiumed, a half a dozen times at that point. So, I knew the ropes. Yeah, you got to milk it.
You knew what you were doing. And your dad was a ski instructor, right? Was he a coach too, or was he just an instructor? Or?
No, he was just a ski instructor because he loved skiing. He was a school teacher in real life, but becoming a ski instructor on weekends, you got a free pass for the whole family. So it was a way that we all could ski. Brody Mountain was my the place that had the infamous green beer on St. Patty's Day.
Kelly's Irish Alps, yeah.
Kelly's Irish Alps, yeah. And you podiumed at Bosque, home of Heidi Voelker.
Heidi Voelker and the Smingers, exactly.
Isn't it amazing that 3 Olympic athletes came out of probably the smallest ski area, at least in New England, if not the United States?
That is the mind-boggling part of it, isn't it? Because you get these tiny little areas and you think, oh, well, you've got to be from the Alps, or you've got to be from, from Colorado, you've got to be from Utah or California, or like
right.
Big mountains. And we just got a lot of laps on a tiny little, and most of them were really flat too. I mean, there wasn't much of a pitch. That was the funny thing. Brody, where you grew up, I skied there. So I did a race at Mount Tom when I was 6. But I wasn't really in it. I didn't have the license. And actually that race, we looked at the finish from like 2 gates up or whatever. The whole team looked at it, and I'm just a little kid, and the coach is like, okay, you want to point this way and do this. I'd never seen the die across the finish, so they put the die in between the finish. And to me, it looked like there was a rope across the finish. So I finished, and I didn't actually go to the finish. I went around the finish because I didn't want to run into the rope.
You don't want to clothesline yourself, right?
And I was probably small enough that if it had been a rope, I would have gone right underneath it. So my first race was actually, my first official race was at Brody, was the GS at Brody. But that was also the first college race that I did in a monoski after my accident.
Oh, no way.
The Williams Carnival was the exact, not the same set, obviously, but the same course, the same start and the same finish. But did you go through the finish line that time? I think I went through the finish line. I was going probably about the same speed that I was going as a 7-year-old. And I was worried about, killing myself, really. But you got really good. You went from Kelly's Irish Alps up to Stratton, and you were one of the top juniors in the country, right? Because the thing is, you're a comic now. People probably don't know that you had a life before you were a comic. How good a skier were you? No, you didn't have a life?
It was again. It was kind of like, I didn't know that I was funny. Well, I didn't know that I was good. What happened?
Oh, I think we're good.
It seems like it's frozen.
Is it frozen? Can you see me?
Nope. Yeah, I got you now. Yeah.
Okay.
It just froze.
But you were a really good skier before you were a comedian.
Yeah. Well, no one has ever confirmed that I've been a really good comedian. But
we'll get to that one later.
I was a really, really good skier. But again, it was because I started when I was so young. I didn't know any better. I was more comfortable on skis than I was walking around in a parking lot with ski boots or on a tennis court or anywhere else. And because you nailed it with the small areas that we grew up in, the repetition. It's just like when you're any sport that you do, it's repetition. Baseball, you just take cut after cut. Golf, swing, tennis, hit. We just kept going up and down, up and down. We're getting thousands of runs in a day, where the people at Squaw Valley, they're getting 6 runs in because it's, 1,000 miles long. And we also skied on bulletproof man-made snow, which was hard. It was like a skating rink, And so we had ruts, and so it made you a much better skier. So by the time we got out to the West Coast where it's all packed powder, it's hero snow. That's why we got to be so good out here. Like, basically, Chris, the reason all of us got so good at skiing, it was like Rocky, what was it? Rocky 4, where he trained in Russia.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You
Okay.
remember that movie?
I'm interested to see where this is going. Yep.
With an ox cart and oh no, I'm not making a colluding with Russia link. No. I'm staying away from politics. I'm just saying it was like Rocky training in Russia,
with the telephone pole on his. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was minimalist, absolute minimalist, and it made us animals. It just made us, very, very hungry and aggressive, and oh, we're gonna go up there to Vermont and we're gonna kick their ass.
But then you went up to Vermont, and so many of the skiers, so many of the good skiers at that point, so a lot of the best racers were based in Vermont or going to school. Like you went to a ski academy, right? You went to Stratton Mountain, or went to Burke, a mountain academy first, and then went to Stratton.
I went to Burke, and then I transferred to Stratton. My good buddy Scott Lyons, who used to be on the U.S. ski team. You remember Scott?
Oh yeah.
He likes to tell people I was kicked out, which is a better story. It sells better, but it's funnier that way. But the reality is I transferred to Stratton because one of my best friends, Barry Galvin, was at Stratton, and quite frankly, the girls were a lot prettier. And so when you're 16 years old, that factors in.
Is that why you became a ski racer for the girls? Is that why you became a comedian as well?
That's why I stuck it out so long, but that's not why I became a ski racer.
Okay.
But it was, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Tell us how good you were, though. I mean, I want to know. I mean, like you were, because Galvin was the best guy in your age group.
He was the best once we got to high school. But he and I, if you remember, we were neck and neck. We were, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. I win, he wins. I win, he wins. I at the Junior Olympics in 1981. God, dating ourselves here. I came in second in the slalom, third overall, and so I got the medal. And the overall was Lowry Sullivan and Mark Faniff were the other two. I think Galvin will end up being 6. I mean, I made the Junior Olympics every year, the U.S. Nationals, the NORAMs, that type of thing. I mean, here's the interesting thing. I was good, but I wasn't great. The highest ranking I ever got, I think, was like 17th in slalom and like 32nd in giant slalom, national. Right. With the points ranking. Now that's not good enough. That's not even close to making the Olympic team. But if I was the 17th best baseball player in America, you would know exactly who I am. People would have posters. Kids would have posters on their wall, and I'd be making millions of dollars a year. But if you're 17th or 30th best ski racer in the country, you're solid, but you're not, you
got to do something else.
You're not going to be.
Do you guys have any comedy ski races? Do you get to throw down occasionally with all the comedians?
Oh gosh, no. The closest, ski racing is still, I guess, and I hate to use this word, especially in today's the parlance of our times, as the dude would say in Lebowski. It's still fairly an elitist sport, so you're not going to get a lot of celebrity ski. Like Heidi hosts that celebrity ski event.
Right.
Every year at Park City or Deer Valley or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
I don't even know. Have you? So, but no, most comedians are not coordinated at all in terms of sports. I'm not trying to shit on my peers in my profession, but I would say that 75% of them are not athletic at all. They live vampire hours, which I do, occasionally. A lot of them don't even like sports. So there's a smaller percentage, 25%, that still has, their eye on the prize in terms of sports, actually gets out and does stuff. But comedians are more, nocturnal creatures who eat dinner after shows. So you go to Denny's at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, and then you drink beer and you stay up until 6 a.m. and then you sleep all day. I mean, but again, I think we still get the same 8 hours of sleep that most Americans do who have day jobs. Our job is at night. And so you really have to focus your energy. And I know it sounds weird. It's not a physical activity, but mentally you have to be in the zone, just like you are with any sport, just like we are standing in the starting gate when you're ski racing. The rest of the world doesn't exist. It's just you in that bubble, and you have that course memorized, and you know where you're going to set up wide and where you're going to come in early, and you're going to pre-jump so you don't get too much air like you did at Sugarloaf. We'll talk about that in the Junior Olympics. So you need to have that focus and concentration as a comedian, now more so than ever, because of the political climate out there. So you need to focus your day. You can't get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, because by 9 o'clock at night, when you have to be on stage, you're wiped out, you're burnt. So a lot of people are like, oh, you're lazy, you sleep till noon, you sleep till 1. Yeah, but I have a night job. A lot of times, like on a Friday or Saturday night, you're doing 3 shows, you're doing 7:30, 9:30, 10:30. Sometimes, a lot of times in Vegas where I live now, I would do 11 o'clock or midnight shows. You're not getting home till 2 o'clock in the morning. And it's not like you can walk in the door after this adrenaline rush and just lie down and go to sleep,
No, that's got to be, I mean, that's where you ended. And that was something that I was interested in, is how do you unwind and how do you come off stage? Because it is like, especially when things go well, right? Things go well. It's like nothing better. People are laughing. They're laughing in all the right places. You're like, I am killing it. This is awesome. And then you go off stage and you're alone, right? And you hit that crash. I mean, how does it work for you? I know how it works for me. Like, I speak a lot. And it used to be, I would finish speaking and people would come up to the stage and they'd want to do questions. They want to ask me questions. And I was like, look, I gave you everything I have. I'm done. I'm done. I've got to go. I've got to go recharge. How does it work for you? What's that like?
Well, I'm sure it's very, very similar, if not identical to you. You give everything on that stage. And, pre-COVID, you had to do the meet and greets after every show. Because I'm not like at, a Bill Burr level where you can just have security escort you to your hotel room. I'm at that lower level where I have to, go out and try to sell books or CDs or T-shirts and, shake hands, kiss babies type of thing. And people want you to still be on all the time. And 9 times out of 10, people, hey, you were very funny. Have you heard this joke? And they tell you a joke, or try this in your routine. And they're street jokes. They're like old jokes. And they're usually ridiculously racist or inappropriate. And you have to fake a laugh. Right? Yeah, exactly. You fake a laugh. You're like, oh yeah, that was great. I would use that, but I try not to use the N-word in my set. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be nice to everybody, but sometimes they're very inappropriate. And a lot of people don't understand that we write our own material. Obviously there's exceptions. You've heard of, thievery out there, but a comedy purist, you write your own stuff. So when people are saying, hey, did you hear the one about the 2 Irishmen and the Catholic who walked into you're like, yeah, that's an old joke. But you can't let them know that, because they just paid money to see you. So you sit and you do a lot of fake nodding and, oh, that was wonderful. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. Here's my phone number. How come there's only 4 digits? Well, oh yeah, I'm in between numbers. So yeah, there's a lot of that. And then, but there are times, like, and I will name drop again. Like I've opened for Bill Burr a lot. I'm doing a theater show for 10,000 people. And, I'm just his support. I'm just like his opening act, but still after the show, I will go out and meet people and everyone's like, oh, you're a rock star. You're rock. And then 2 hours later, I'm up in my hotel room in boxer shorts and a t-shirt watching Sports Center, by myself, texting my then girlfriend, my now wife. And it's lonely. It's very lonely. And when you have a really good show, it's very difficult to come down because of the adrenaline rush. It creates that endorphin that it gives you a natural high, which is why a lot of entertainers probably, self-medicate with alcohol or edibles, to try to come down. Right. That's from a really good show. I don't remember my really good shows. I'm fortunate that there's way more good shows than bad shows, but the bad shows, they're on you like stink. I mean, they just, you're sitting in your hotel room alone and you're questioning why are you doing this? You're not even good. This is horrible. They hated you. Or I did this wrong. Just like a bad run in skiing in a very important race. You're like, I blew that one turn. It was that one turn. If I just set up a little bit early, but and you can't get it out of your head. That's really hard. Those are the nights that keep you up all night long. So sorry, go ahead.
No, so the bad nights are, do you feel that after the good nights? Like, I mean, I've been on stage and sometimes I don't even know. Like some of my stuff is like, like I am so jealous that you're funny. Because I would so love to be funny in front of the group, and some of my stuff is a little cerebral. And I had one in San Diego where I was like, I am dying up here. I'm just dying up here. And then I finished, and they gave me a standing ovation, and I went, okay, so I guess I wasn't dying up there. Like This is a good thing. But I get that crash afterwards. Even it's like the build up, the adrenaline build up to the performance. And then afterwards you're like, okay, that was good. And then it's like, like I miss that energy, the audience energy. I miss people hopefully laughing. I mean, I'll get a laugh occasionally every once in a while, usually when I do something stupid, but for you, it really is the bad shows that stick with you where you get that crash. You don't get that crash after the good shows. After the good shows, you're like, I'm on top, I'm killing it. Let's tee up another one right now. I'm ready to go.
Yes, exactly. You don't want it to end. A good set, I'll just say the standard 45-minute set is generally when you're headlining set. A really good show, it feels like you just got on stage by the time you have to wrap up. It feels like 5 minutes, 7 minutes. It just goes by like that. And I can't even tell you how many times I walk off stage and I don't remember what I said because you were in the zone, just like you are with sports. Michael Jordan probably couldn't tell you exactly how he did what he did. He just did it because he's in that zone. I a lot of times, especially when you're riffing, you have set material that you want to get to during your show, but riffing occurs or someone will heckle you and all of a sudden you're in that moment. And I've had pockets of 10, 15 minutes in a row where it's just everything I'm saying is working. I walk off stage. I can't tell you one word I said. I don't remember anything. It's gone. It's out into the ether somehow. But yeah, that bad show, I'll go over that bad show forever and ever and ever. Listen, Tom Brady has won 6 Super Bowls. He's been in 9 Super Bowls. And when you see him interviewed, he still talks about the losses. He talks about that one, the 2 losses to the Giants. He's the winningest quarterback of all time, but he still has, because you remember that pain because you don't ever want to go back to where that pain was. So you dissect it and a lot of times, especially in something like comedy where it's subjective, it's beyond your control. Sometimes the crowd, it's a late show on a Friday night and they're super drunk. They worked all week long, they're tired, and it's 11 o'clock on a Friday night or there's a sorority party of drunk girls in the front row drinking out of penis straws and waving sex toys, and they just want all the attention. So you give them a little bit of attention to shut them up. You alienate the rest of the crowd. It's pandemonium. It's bedlam. Sometimes you just set up to fail, but you still wear that. You wear that on your sleeve, and it's really hard to overcome that. Just like a loss in ski racing or sports. Well, it's the same. It's the same thing. It really is. You asked me on the phone yesterday, is there like mental similarities between ski racing and stand-up comedy? It's the exact same thing. It's getting out of your own way and not thinking. Like, you've competed way more than I have at this point. So you probably have some of your best moments, your best competitions when you're out of your head. You're in that zone.
Well, it's the hope.
But if you overthink it,
yeah.
What's that?
Well, it's the hope, and it's funny, and this is I can see this is an interview. We're going all over the place on this one. So I apologize to the audience right now that the structure of this is going to be out the door, but I'm going to unpack some of this stuff. I want to get, because you're talking about the zone, you're talking about being out of your head. How do you try to get there? Because it doesn't. I mean, it sort of seems like it just happens in some ways, but it takes a
It
lot of
does.
work to get
Yes.
in order to have things work out. Like for me in ski racing, one of the things that I tried to convince myself, and I had a lot of experience in this, was that I had made a mistake before I went through the starting gate. So then I
Okay.
lost all of the expectations, right? I mean, sometimes it's like you're a little bit tight because of the expectations. Like, I don't want to lose this opportunity. And then invariably you do something stupid. And so
Right.
I've done something stupid a lot of times, and then had, like, then you go and win the bottom half of the course or something. And it's like, oh, well, I should have done that from the start. And so my trigger in a lot of ways was to say, okay, I've already made a mistake. It's all out the window. Like, go at
Yeah.
it. Like, just go at it. You have nothing to lose. What do you
Yeah.
what do you do in terms of preparation? Because it's not like, because part of it, like for the audience, it's often we look at you guys and go, well, they're just funny. It's just one of those
Yeah.
things, and it's organic too, right? You've practiced it enough that it looks like you're just making stuff up as you go. I mean, that's the objective. You're not like, okay, I'm going to go to joke B now,
Right.
and but it looks like there's that. But what do you have to do in order to get to that point where you can be in the zone?
Well, there, I don't know. I'm probably misquoting, but there's something of the only way to get great is to put in 10,000 hours. You heard that?
This is the
And
Malcolm
anything,
Gladwell thing. Yeah, the outliers.
anything, 10,000 hours. So it just, it's rote at that point. It's just in you. So that's in terms of the comfort level and going through the mechanics of what you're doing on stage. But to get into that zone, a lot of time, like the greats seem to do it all the time, like your Michael Jordans or your Tiger Woods. But guys at my level, it's hit or miss. It's like golf. There have been times where I'm having the best golf game of my life, and so then I start adding up my score, going, oh, you know what? If I par this hole and par that hole, I'm going to finish. And that's when you start shanking them into the woods. Soon as you start thinking.
Yeah.
And, here's a better analogy. When you're a teenage boy, when you're in high school, you have a crush on a girl.
Uh-huh.
But the key is you can't let the girl know that you like her. You have to come off as being aloof and cool. You have to kind of be a little bit of a dick, because women like the bad boys. But you really like this girl, but you have to treat her like shit to get her to like you. So, but you're coming across as a dick, even though you're really not. So you're just playing these mind games that's in high school. But the reality is you just have to be yourself. And if they like you, they like you. And if they don't, they don't. Then you're not for them. That's how you have to approach it. You just have to be yourself. And a lot of times it's hard to be yourself because not everyone likes their own skin. And so I wish I had a formula. I wish I could give you a better answer, Chris, but getting to that place is getting out of your own way and just not thinking, not caring. Bill Burr told me, he's a very good friend of mine. He and I started out together. His comedy went next level when he stopped giving a crap about anything. Doesn't mean you don't care. You still want to have a good show, but you don't care what the audience thinks. You don't know them personally. You're there just for you. And I look at that, and had I had that kind of attitude back when I was ski racing, I think I would have been a lot more successful if I had more fun and I just went out there and raced. But we were so intense when we were young, and I got to win, and I got to make this, and I got to make, I have to make the Olympics, and so it's hard to stay out of your own way.
It's hard to stay out of your own way, but you do. I mean, it's been a long road as well, right? I mean, do you start, because how do you write a joke? I mean, this is one of those things that people don't realize that you actually write your own jokes. How do you write a joke? What's the creative process for you?
it's a little bit different for everyone else.
Sure.
But for me, and this is similar with a lot of my peers, is we reverse engineer it. You say something or you think of something really funny, and then in your head you go, oh wait, that could be a joke. I got to write that down, or I got to put that into my phone. How do I get to that? Okay.
So you start with the
I
punchline, effectively. So you start with the
yeah,
punchline.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, here's an example. The joke won't work now because, or I'll tell you the joke and I'll tell you how I got there. I go, I just got this wedding ring, and then everyone in the audience will clap, and I'll go, yeah, I also got the guy's watch and I got his wallet, and I pawned those, but I kept the ring. So that's a nice, tight little joke. And it literally just it just came from like, oh, I just got married, I have to do wedding jokes right now. And I was holding the ring like this. I was sitting up with my wife, and I go, I wonder how much I could get for this if I pawned it, because it's brand new. And then she's like, knowing you probably would steal it, right? And then I was like, yeah, well, I would mug a guy for a ring. And then it was like, oh wait, there's something there. Reverse engineer, sit down, and now you structure it. Okay, I got the wedding ring. I know I'm going to get a cheap applause break because people are, you get the acknowledgement of a
You want them on your
oh,
side. Yeah.
yeah. Hey, I just quit drinking. Oh, that's good. Hey, give it up for the troops. Yeah, that's. So you do some of those. I would go. I just got back from Iraq, and then people would clap, and I'd go, oh no, I just. Wasn't a military thing. It was a vacation I booked through Priceline, and that's where they routed me, like something like that. So it's the process for me anyway. Is a funny thought that's out there. How do I structure it? Let's reverse engineer it like Area 51 and come up with something good. And then the longer stories, a lot of my bits, you've seen me on stage, a lot of my bits are 3 to 5 to 6 minutes long. And so that is a lot of trial and error. I know the shell of the bit, but when I'm on stage, I'm going to allow myself just to riff and just see where it goes and see what works and what doesn't. And so it's a lot of trial and error.
Well, that's what they talk about with comedians, where comedians go out and they try out their new stuff. And you look at some of these big people, like I've heard people say, oh, well, Robin Williams showed up at this little bar, and he was doing and he was awful, and you're like, yeah, because that's part of the process. You have to do this out loud, right? I mean, I'm sure you can go talk to your mirror in your bathroom, but
right,
which is a tough audience, obviously, but you got to try this stuff out and see how it works. And I saw something with Jamie Foxx where he was saying that he does like his blackest stuff in like the country clubs.
Right.
And he does, his political stuff in his black clubs, and, and like goes totally against the grain, because he figures if it works there, then I know it works.
Yeah.
But you've done, so you started in Boston, right? You started with with the comedy in Boston. And is that like just starting open mic night where you just show up and put your name on the list? Did you have to pay? I've actually done this a couple of times. I've told you I've done it. I'm not good, but I've done it. It scares me to death. But I think at least a few times I had to pay, I think $5.
Really? Wow.
Get on stage and embarrass myself for 3 minutes. Did you have to do that?
I have not. I never actually had to hand over money myself. But what they used to do in Boston is you had to bring a certain amount of paid people, or else you can't go on stage. Like literally, I remember this one story, and I don't want to. Sometimes I don't want to use names because I don't want to, embarrass them. But there was a well-known booker at the time in Boston, had this club that everyone was trying to get into. And us new comics, the open micers, had to bring 10 paid people. I had 8. I had 8 people who came down, paid the admission, the cover charge, and he wouldn't let me on stage because I didn't have 10. And so I said, can I pay the other 2? And so like I did, I paid for the other 2 people who weren't there just so I could get on stage. And by the time I got up on stage that night, he had already left the club a half hour early, and I was just there to audition for him. So, but yeah, you had to do things like that. You had to bring paid, they were called bringer shows. You had to bring, you had to bring the audience. So I had to do a lot of that. And I mean, you cut your teeth. It takes a long, I mean, you don't come right out of the gate, start getting paid work. I mean, I had a day job. There was one comic that I started out with. And again, I'm name dropping only because my freshman class in Boston, there were some real heavy hitters who went on to become pretty huge. And I would say the one who shot the fame the quickest was Dane Cook.
Mm-hmm.
He never seemed to have that awkward open mic period where he was still looking at his notes or trying, he came out, he was on fire. He was like a seasoned pro when he was 18 years old. And I don't know what he had done prior. I know he had done some acting in some improv groups, but he was next level right from the get-go.
And you all knew it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right away. Literally, like because he had that it factor. He had that thing. And also he started, when he was so young, like I said, acting and improv when he was in high school. He was fearless. He was absolutely fearless. He was a guy, he was prepared, but he never thought anything but I'm the funniest guy in this room. He knew that right away, and he just went up and did it. And it was remarkable to watch. It was remarkable to watch this kid. And then he just blew up and got huge. And this is no disrespect to him, but a lot of people say this about bands. You like their earlier stuff, you know what I mean? And then once you get super rich and famous, you probably soften the edge a little bit because you have yes men all around you going, you're so funny, But his early stuff, literally, I'd be in tears laughing. It was. And then there were several times I'd be watching Dane laughing so hard that my stomach hurt. And then I would have to go up next. I ate my dick so many times behind Dane. I can't even tell you how many times. I'd still be laughing, thinking about what he did. And then I'd be up there going, oh yeah, now here's my stupid stuff.
It's like the exact opposite, but it's kind of like in ski racing when you're running downhill and the helicopter comes in to take somebody out, right? They've just crashed. The helicopter has to go. And it's like, all right, it's your time to go. And you're like, yeah, I'm good. I'm going to feel good. I'm ready to go. We're going to get after it right now. And so
you're seeing someone airlifted dangling from the helicopter, like the guy in Scarface when they pushed him out. You ready to go? Oh, okay.
Let me just get focused for a moment. Okay. Yep. Ready to go. Ready to go. Is there another helicopter around just in case? Just in case we need another one. What is that fear like? And is the fear, was it worse when you first started, or is it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And does it come and go though too?
Oh yeah, it still does. No matter what level you're at, even the big guys will still bomb. Again, when you're trying out new material, and you still have that feeling. You can develop an immunity to physical and emotional pain to a degree. You can only numb yourself so much. Bombing hurts. It hurts no matter what. Time slows down.
I mean, it's personal when you bomb. It's
so personal.
You failed.
Yeah.
You are a failure is what it comes down to, right?
Every single comic, I don't care who they are, has insecurities. Look, we all have insecurities. And when you're killing, when you're just in that moment where the crowd is eating up every single thing that you say, in my head, I'm like, oh, what a great crowd. I'm not giving myself credit for whatever reason. I'm like, these guys are awesome. I love this. I wish this group would follow me around the country. And then the next night you're doing the same routine and you're eating it. You're bombing and you're just like, oh, I suck. Why did I get into this? I should have gone into mortgage banking. I'm going to go home and drink 2 bottles of wine and have some Ambien and Anna Nicole Smith my way out of this. And so you take the bombing personally, but you take the crushing, you credit the audience. It's a weird.
I don't
understand the mind of comedians. And I am one.
feel like when you get on stage? What does that fear feel like? And how do you get over that fear? Because the thing is, you can't project fear to the audience or else
Oh,
they'll
right.
alive, right? So how do you get, what does the fear feel like? And what do you do to get over it that you get out there and you're like, oh, I'm in charge, you know?
I think I would liken it to jumping out of an airplane. I don't know if you've ever gone skydiving. I have a handful of times. It's looking out of that airplane, and you're like, wait, I'm going to be out there in a minute. What am I doing? What am I doing? This is crazy. Especially if, when you're going first in comedy, you just don't know. You're jumping out of that airplane first. But if you've seen a couple guys go on before you, and it's a really tough crowd, and they're not buying anything, not only are you jumping out of that airplane, but you're jumping out in Vietnam at night and people are shooting at you on the way down. So you're like, oh my God, I'm probably going to die. That fear is palpable, Chris. You can take your pulse without touching yourself because your heart is, oh my God, I have to, it sounds like the helicopter, it's awful. And again, how do you get over it? You never get over it, but you learn to manage it through repetition, through just doing it. Once you've jumped out of the airplane 10,000 times, you're like, all right, well, maybe I'll get shot this time and maybe I won't, but I'm jumping out of the plane.
Right.
You know the danger is there, but you also know that you've lived through it a million other times before. You're going to live through it again.
You're going to live through it again. And it's funny. Like I have to look at that because it's the same thing. And it's the same thing like with ski racing where, like I do some of these little fun races, which are like NASCAR courses and they're like corporate fundraisers or whatever, just fun things. I'm still nervous before those races, before those little races, and people, you can't be nervous for this. Like, this is nothing. And I'm like, no, it matters. It still matters to me. And it matters to you every time you go on stage. So that's the hard part. Like for me, when I speak, I try to hit it hard, like right at the beginning. There are a lot of people who are like, oh, thanks so much for coming here, and you guys are great and this and that. And it's a nice little soft up. But I try to go out and like say something right away. And I'm like, oh shit, this is like the I've made a mistake kind of thing in ski racing. Like if I say it, I'm like, I got to now back that up. Like I've just made a comment and I've got to back that up. Like I did something at one point. It was like some like, it was actually, it sounds impressive. It's probably not as impressive as it sounds. It was something at like the UN, and it was, we're talking about like chronic disease kind of stuff. And I was sort of there talking about something. I don't remember exactly what I was talking about, but I got on stage and I was like, you know what? I don't have the luxury of getting out of shape.
Right. Yeah.
Because for me, it's like, I'm getting around with my arms. And if I get out of shape, if I add 20, 30 pounds, like getting from my chair into my car is really hard. So then eventually I just don't go anywhere. So I really don't have that luxury, but I felt like I had to hit it hard, and then you have to back it up, like people actually listen to you. And that for me is kind of the way that I get over it. I'm like, oh, I'm in it now, as opposed to like kind of dipping your toe. It's like the diving into the pool versus dipping your toe into the pool.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Well, it's funny. You're doing this at the UN. And you've been to the White House. Okay. You have done this in front of presidents of the United States, and you're picking my brain, a guy who works at like Uncle Fester's Chuckle Hut in Mud Whistle Falls, Idaho. You know what I'm saying? Like, even you and I, but it's the same mindset. You know what I mean? Because no matter where you are, no matter how big the venue, how small the venue, you want to always do your personal best.
Yeah.
Right? You want to give your absolute best performance no matter what. So no matter where you are, what level, it's the same mindset, I think.
I have much easier audiences oftentimes than you do. You know, you go.
Well, because you use that, you use that wheelchair and you got the prop. You know what I mean? So you automatically get the sympathy.
It was a strategic decision. I've got another one in the garage if you want it.
Can I tell your viewers a quick little story about us?
Sure.
when I remember when it was, it was weird after the accident first happened to you, and because a lot of us didn't know how to act, and being young and ignorant, it's almost like we talked to you like you were suddenly a foreigner and couldn't speak English. Are you okay, Chris? And I I remember one time I offered to help you get in the car, and I was like, hey buddy, can I please help you get in the car? And you're like, yeah, I would normally let you, but I'm kind of in a hurry, so better let me do it. I was like, oh, you asshole. All right, you're still the same. You're still the same, Chris. And but it was weird. It was a weird, do you remember that? You're like, no, I'm in a hurry. Let me do it. Because like somehow we're trying so hard to accommodate you that we're acting different. And so that must have been a weird adjustment for you, for people like me who knew you from childhood. All of a sudden we're talking to you like, English is a third language. Hi, Chris, are you feeling good today? Can I get you some cocoa? I mean, it's
well, you totally nailed it, because that is actually the hardest part. The hardest part is it's the weird dynamic shift that, like, the guy lying in the hospital bed is really the person who has to put everybody else at ease.
Yeah.
The people come in and they're like, oh, I'm going to support you. Like, I'm here. We still love you. Like your life hasn't changed. Everything's good. And I'm looking at it going, everything has changed. What do you mean? Like, I've got to put you at ease. That's that weird, like, dynamic shift that you go, I'm responsible for how I interact with people. And so it's a wild deal, but which is funny. So what's the hardest crowd that or hardest place? You're looking at, like, I was listening to something, and Jay Leno was talking about how when he was coming up, he was playing in Boston, and he played a strip club in the combat zone. Sure. And he's like, nobody wants to listen to anything funny, but it's kind of like your initiation. It's kind of like, creating your chops, right? I mean, this is it, where you play these places that they don't care about you at all. They don't want to hear you, but you still have to go up there and do it. What's been the toughest one? Does this stick in your head?
I mean, there's so many, I wouldn't know where to begin, but I'll address the strip club thing, because I know where Jay performed at. It was Jacques in the combat zone in Boston. I have performed there. And it later became like a transvestite bar. I've done plenty of shows there. Yeah, they don't want to pay attention to you at all. And this is a real name. It's going to sound like I'm making it up. I performed several times at the Golden Banana.
Oh yeah, I know the Golden Banana. It's right. I turned right to go up to New Hampshire from the airport. Yeah.
Exactly. So you land in Logan, you see some titties, and then you go up to Maine and get some lobster. Bingo, Bob's your uncle. So I have performed there when you go to a strip club or dance club for one reason and one reason only, and it's not stand-up comedy. So, but you have to cut your teeth. Again, it's Rocky in Russia. You do this training. It's a training exercise. It's a Navy SEAL boot camp type of thing. Going into it, it's going to be awful, but it's also like rehearsal. And you learn more from, and I do believe, again, the crossover between my job and sports and your job, it's the same. You learn way more from failure than you do from success. You really, so
willing to
you
fail.
Bomb and you
right. You got to be willing to fail, throw it out there, and yeah.
That's one of, and I'm not one of these middle-aged comics that go, oh, kids today. I'm really not trying to do that. But because we are in a society where everything is now, I see a lot of newer comedians coming up. They've done it for a year or 6 months. They already they've never had a paid gig, but their business card says professional comedian. You're like, what the hell? And they're like, where's my Netflix special? And it's like, you little shit, you put the time in, then come back and see where you are. You can tell, if you're a veteran comedian, you can pretty much tell how long someone has been doing comedy by their first 30 seconds or 15, just by the way they go and approach the microphone. I can tell if someone is new or not. Like you said, there are guys that'll come out there and go like, "Hey, how you doing? How's it going? Hey, how about a round of applause for the wait staff?" You know what I mean? Like or they're just nervous, fumbling with the mic, or so what else is going on? You can just tell body language. Are they new or are they not? You said you like to come out and hit them. Guys like George Carlin, Louis C.K., who unfortunately is on that cancel list, Bill Burr. There's a lot of comics, Chris Rock, that come out. They don't say, "Hi, how you doing?" They don't fluff the audience. Louis C.K. opened a special once. He walks out on stage and he goes, "The thing about abortion." It's just like, whoa, wait, what? You're going there already? You haven't even fluffed us. But that's ballsy. Chris Rock used to open with his closing joke a lot of times, because your closing joke that's your moment. That's your big, "Hey, thank you guys, good night." And that's where they go wild. Well, if you open with your closing joke, now you have to follow yourself, if that makes sense at all. You have to get the rest of your show up to that level of that first joke. Dave Chappelle talked about doing the same thing, not in their comedy specials, not when they're on Netflix, but when they're warming up. No, when you're out on the road working out your material, you open with your strongest stuff. That way the audience is like, "Oh my God, you're amazing." Now, you know, in your head, what you have to say after that isn't as strong as that, but you have to do what you can to get up to that level.
And some of it, is there a part of it where you're kind of keeping yourself honest in some ways? I mean, like Chris Rock, watching Chris Rock, his genius to me is that he says something to piss the audience off.
Yes.
He totally alienates the audience. You know, it's like half women, right? And he's like, "Women are awful. I hate women," and you're like, "Oh, this isn't going to end well." And then it's almost like he issues that challenge to himself and then brings it back around.
Yes.
And makes it work. Like he's jumped in the deep end. And how do it's funny because you were talking about the people that you knew that they're not, that they're brand new and they want their Netflix special. They're brand new. They've never done anything. When did you know that you were actually a comedian? Like that this could be your career?
Oh boy, I should have prepared. I wish I knew that was coming, Chris. I mean, when did I know? I mean, I started getting paid gigs, and when I reached a point where I was making enough to survive, barely survive. But I looked at,
like, what was your
6 months ahead.
What was your first paid gig? Where when you say paid gigs, are you making like $25 and an order of French fries, or what are you getting?
It was 25, 50, 75. I meant 100. My first gig was my first paid gig was in Stowe, Vermont, and I was driving up from Boston. It was probably about a 5 or 6 hour trip in the snow, and I was getting paid $75. And they said I only had to do 20 minutes of comedy. So in my head, 20 minutes, $75, that's $225 an hour. Yes, yeah, I'm in. But it was $75. So I had to take not just one day off of work, I had to take 2 days off of work.
And drive.
Yeah. Drive all the way up there. They give you a hotel and they give you food. So then I'm like, oh, free hotel, free food, free beer. This is amazing. And so I made $75. It cost me like $300 or $400. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But in your head, you're like, I'm making money as a professional. And quick funny story. I went to UMass Amherst. As you remember, you were up at the good Ivy League school, Middlebury. I was at the state school, and they had comedy every Tuesday night at a place called the Blue Wall. And I would go down and just watch and laugh my butt off, because comedy was huge in the 80s. That was back when it was really unfiltered. And nowadays, and we can get to this later, but comedy it's a different job than it was even 10 years ago, because of the political correctness climate and the woke and all that. But back in the 80s, you could say anything, do anything, and comedy was just out of control. And one day I finally had the balls to approach a comedian and ask if I could just pick his brain. It was a guy named DJ Hazard, incredibly funny guy. And he goes, as long as you keep buying me beer, I will keep answering your questions. And it was like, remember back in college, way back then, they would serve beer in the plastic cups out of a keg, and it was literally like it was $2 a beer. So I'm like, yeah, I'll buy you beer. And one of the questions that I eventually worked up the courage to ask him is, I said, how much money do you make as a comedian? And he puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, son, trust me, you would not want to be in my tax bracket. And I took that as, oh my, he's one of the 1%. Yeah. Oh, yes. This is what I'm going to do. I can't wait. Cut to like 6 years later, I'm doing a gig with him in Holton, Maine, way north of Portland. It's a million miles away. And I'm getting, I think 125 to open for him. And he's getting like 200. And I'm driving, and I go, do you remember meeting me at UMass Amherst? You told me I wouldn't want to be in this tax bracket, you asshole. And he goes, I meant it. I said, you wouldn't want to be in my tax bracket. He didn't lie. That's exactly what he meant. So, yeah, man, it takes a while till you can make a comfortable living. And you know, I've been very fortunate over the last 5 or 6 years prior to the COVID thing happening, that I work very consistently. I'm not a household name. I haven't gotten to that, you know, Bill Burr level, but I'm in baseball. I'd be a 5-tool player. I can open, middle, close. I can go very, very corporate clean. I can go super dirty, everywhere in between. I can put a nice suit on, or I can, you know, dress like this. And so I get a lot of work, because you could plug me in wherever you need to plug me in. And
was that
so,
the determining factor? The determining factor of whether you could make a living doing this, is that you were getting booked consistently? You might not be making a ton of money,
right?
But you could get booked consistently. I think you told me one time a few years ago that you worked like 40 months a year.
Yeah.
40 weeks a year.
Yeah,
40 months a year. It might feel like 40 months a year sometimes, but
yeah. You know, what's crazy is, yeah, there was a time that I was doing like 40 to 45 weeks a year. But 17, 18, 19, and into 20, I was doing 50 weeks a year. And the 2 weeks I was taking off on purpose, because I needed, you know, some time to go home and visit family and things to recharge the batteries. I was getting extremely lucky with the consistency of my work. And you know, why do you get into it? And I hate to sound like those douchebag guys that go, I do it for the art form, man. But I do it for the art form, man. I really do. It's for me. I do. I don't think I've ever sold out. I've never done a gimmick, and I'm not knocking anyone who ever does, because that is their path, and we all have different paths. I have always, you know, the old cliche, do a job that you would do for free, and you'll never have a bad day of work. Well, I have lots of bad days of work, but that's because of the audience. But I love it. I absolutely love the process of coming up with something in my own head, and then trying to work it out, and then trying to see if it works. It's not a desperation. It's like some comics I know, and again, we're all so different. Some people just need that to function. They need the approval of other people. I'm not like that. Those are the people that also do social media 24 hours a day. You could barely catch me on Facebook. I do it when I have to promote something, or if I have something I think is funny to say. But I do it. I'm one of the old school purists, you know, like, you know, I'm big in Japan, man. I didn't pop here in the US, but I'm big in Japan, and I'm not famous. I'm just kind of tall by their standards.
Their standards. Do you feel like, do you ever feel like you're never going to get booked again? I mean, is that still a real fear for you?
Well, I mean, now more than ever, because of, you know, the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's all comics are desperate, and we have that. You could have a full calendar, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, I have nothing after April. Oh my God, I'm never going to work again. You know, yeah, you have that fear always. And so that keeps you going. You're like, oh, I got to get on the phone. I got to call my manager. Tony, get on there. Yeah, it's that panic. It's that fear. And, you know, I'm 53 years old. There's a whole crop of, you know, and let's be honest. Okay. I'm a middle-aged heterosexual white male who kind of looks like a fat Mike Pence. I am minus the fly in my head. I'm not the most sought after demographic of performer today. Do you know what I'm saying? Without trying to,
Yeah. No, I understand.
without trying to get
Without getting in trouble, really?
without
Yeah.
getting in trouble. Yeah. And that's the other thing that makes comedy difficult today, even at that Chris Rock level. We all have to think about what we're saying before we go on stage and in the moment.
You have to think about it, but also the responsibility of being a comic is to push that line, right? To push the envelope of like, what's acceptable. Can we, it's kind of, we grew up on MASH, right? I mean, we probably grew up more on MASH reruns than anything else, but it was like, if you could laugh at something, then you could accept it.
Right.
And I think that's got to be the challenge. So for you, what's the source of your comedy? How do you I mean, you don't have the Jewish thing, you don't have the black thing, you don't have the female thing. Like where do you get your comedy? And are you writing the whole time? Like if you're on the road for 50
all the time.
Really?
No, I write all the time. And one of the things is kind of that's why I did all those videos. I did 100 videos in a row with the kids here at the house because I need to get it out there, because I keep writing, but I don't have a place to perform, and you don't want the stuff just to disappear into the ether. So, I have other outlets, but the difficult part about thinking, again, remember we were talking about getting into that zone, getting out of your own way and all that. It's best when it's organic. Everything is best when it's organic. But when you are on stage thinking, oh, I can't say that. Oh, I can't. Oh, there appears to be, again, I don't even know what to say right now, but there's a couple that's very flamboyant over there. So I don't want to say anything that could possibly, so you're like, who? I don't want to offend. I don't want to offend. And because I'm a middle-aged heterosexual white guy, I'm put to task. I'm in that group, not just me. I'm in that group that's, held accountable for anything. Whereas if you check off some boxes, if you are, you can get away with a lot. There are comedians who can go up on stage right now and say anything they want, and people will clap because it's brave. But if you're a heterosexual white man, they're like, I honestly, okay, sorry, I'm rambling. It's 100% true story. Strike me dead. I was doing a show in Lake Tahoe last February, a month before lockdown. And I just came out and I said, hey, how you guys doing? And right there, someone goes, we're not all guys. And I was like, oh, someone's messing with me. And I go, okay, sorry. And he goes, watch the pronouns, asshole. And I looked at him, and here's a guy who's got a full beard. And I go, well, you're clearly a guy. And he goes, well, you're clearly not homophobic, but trans, something phobic. I can identify as whatever I want. And I was like looking around, is there a hidden camera? What's going on? I got heckled on my opening line because he said, how you guys doing? Watch the pronouns. And it's like, wow. Meanwhile, there was someone of color on the show that threw the N-word around like confetti. And I just said, how are you guys doing? But I'm the asshole on that show. So that's where we are today. And so it certainly makes it difficult to navigate your way around that. So the stuff that I'm doing now, I try to, and I hate to say that, I try to generalize it more so no one could get offended. There are guys like Jerry Seinfeld, Jim Gaffigan, Brian Regan, who are clean, and they only do things that no one could be offended by. And I'm sure people still are somehow. Jay Leno.
You got to have an edge to be funny oftentimes, right? I mean, that's part of it.
The job of a comedian is to make observations and call people out on their bullshit. That's always been the job description forever. If you're going to make fun of Democrats, then you equally make fun of Republicans, and it's all good. We all sit back and laugh. Oh, that's way out the window now. You could do a joke, and this is all real. You could just question, and I did. I remember I did some kind of joke about the governor of California, Newsom. How come he can lock everyone down, but while he's ordering a lockdown while he's not wearing a mask at a winery, and shouldn't there be accountability? And then people are like, that's because you love Trump. Wait, whoa. No, what are you talking about? No, has nothing to do with it. I'm trying to hold these assholes accountable. All of them, Trump, Biden, all of them. Like, they're politicians. We should be able to make fun of politicians. No. You can make fun of one side only. They're deplorable, everything else. So it's scary now. It's like, I don't want to make observations. I don't want to call anyone out. I'm going to just go, hey, what's the deal with toothpaste? You know what I mean? So I'm trying to generalize. I've been doing jokes about the mask and like what we're all going through together.
Right.
Have you noticed that a sneeze is the new fart? Right? Someone sneezes, you're like, oh, what the hell was that? Oh man, my mouth was up. No one likes to wear a mask, I guess, unless you're really ugly. Then it was a good year. 2020 was real good if you're ugly, because then you're like, oh, wow, I wonder if she takes it in the mask. So trying to do things that everyone and so it's a challenge. It's a huge challenge, and that challenge is, I'm so funny, or I think I'm so funny, or a good enough writer that I can do a joke, and I defy you to try to poke a hole in it. I defy you to try to find the why I should be canceled for that one.
Part of it, right?
You know what I'm saying? I do a joke. I do a line about how I am offended by the term woke. As a narcoleptic, my people have suffered in silent slumber far too long that I'm right. So even woke people could go, all right, that's good. You know what I'm saying? So it's it was a lot easier to do dick jokes 20 years ago. Now you have to think about what you're doing. So I do accept the challenge because it's the new normal and we're heading into this future. And I want to keep working. So I'm going to keep trying to find angles that I can, tongue in cheek, make fun of the current climate from my perspective, which is not the most popular perspective. And so, yeah, I mean, it's not easy. It's a lot harder than it ever was.
So do you feel the pressure to reinvent yourself, or to say, I'm going to go harder, like to be more offensive and try to get away with it? Like, this is the bigger challenge, right? Like, throw out something that is going to be the most offensive thing, where not only are you guaranteed to offend a few people, but you're guaranteed to offend everybody in the audience, and say, okay, can I make this work? Like, this is the biggest challenge. Or to say, okay, what is my angle? What's my angle as a middle-aged white guy? I was watching some of your YouTube kind of things, and you were talking about, I'm trying to remember. I mean, this is probably back a time, because it was a little bit racial, and you were talking about how you wouldn't trade with this black guy. He wouldn't trade his manhood.
White privilege.
He wouldn't. Yeah, white privilege. You wouldn't trade his manhood for your credit score. And
yeah.
And I was wondering, I was like, oh, there could be a follow up to that, right? That it's like, well, actually, I'm a sort of struggling comedian. You wouldn't want my credit score either, so I lose on both ends.
Oh, that's good. Hey, you just wrote a tagline for me, I'm taking it. I'm taking it, and I'm not giving you credit for it. People are going to have to go back and watch this episode if they want to hear the origination of that line. No, that's a great tag right there, Chris. Thank you.
We've got a huge audience too, so you better watch it though, because phalanx of lawyers over here, all this stuff. But so when you've been on the road, I mean, like, can you describe what being on the road is like? Because we see the glamorous part, like, I grew up with I didn't grow up with him. I grew up watching like Richard Pryor and those kinds of guys, and you're like, oh, in Robin Williams, and you're like, oh, well, being a comedian looks like it's just awesome. You get on stage, everybody laughs at you, they shower money on you, and it's all good. But being on the road, I'm guessing, is a little bit different, the experience. I'm sure you have a favorite go-to fast food.
Okay. when you're at the Richard Pryor level, when you're at that marquee level, being on the road, there's no difference between being a comedian and a rock star. As a matter of fact, being a comedian is better. You might not be playing to 80,000 people like Guns N' Roses was doing. You're playing to 10 or 15,000 people, but it's just you. You don't have to go to sound check. You don't have to set up drums. You don't have to fight with the other guys in the band. It's just you. So that's a different road story than my road story.
And you're staying at the Four Seasons as opposed to
the Motel 6, Super 8, the 9, all motels with numbers in them, places that still have keys, room keys. Now by that, I don't mean, I mean the physical, here's your room key, sir. I still stay in those places. I have, again, this is going to sound like a joke, and I assure you that it's not. I had to buy toilet paper in October, and that was the first time I had to buy toilet paper in 27 years. Because, and I know everyone was panicking because, literally, Chris, every time hotels, you take those little soap, shampoo, you take the Kleenex, you take the, I had what I thought was a lifetime supply of toilet paper. Well, I ran out because I didn't, and I was ashamed. I actually have to go, and it's not so much of a cheap thing as it was a badge of honor. Like, wow, let's see how long I can ride this out. Now, I still haven't had to buy soap or shampoo. I have tons of those. But
these are all the little ones, though.
Yeah, all the mini ones. Yeah. And you ask about my favorite fast food places. I could do this in still to this day, at least 20 cities, the closest being to you, Salt Lake City. I would know which hotels had the continental breakfast, and some had even nicer breakfasts. And so I wasn't staying there. I'm staying at a Motel 6 or something, but I would get in the car and I'd drive to, West Valley in Salt Lake, and I would go to the Courtyard Marriott, and I'd walk in, I'd wave at the front desk, I'd go and I'd have breakfast, and then I'd, any calls in room 213? No. All right. Hey, see ya. And then I'd go get in my car, and then I'd drive to the next town. I know where to eat for free. And again, that's what being on the road is like. What's that?
You're paying for all of it. When you're on the road, it's your dime for the hotel room, for all your food, the people. I mean, you probably have some of them that are putting you up, I would imagine, some of your things, but
on the show nights, you're 98% of the time they're putting you up and they're feeding you. But the in-betweens, if you're literally on a tour, and as you know, because I've passed through your town several times, I've done 6-8 weeks in a row. And so on the dark nights, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you don't have shows. Well, you're on your own. So I go crash on your couch. I stay with Heidi Voelker or Chris Brigham or Galvin up in Oregon. I crash with you guys. You're on your own for those days. So you want to try to, if you're making X amount of dollars a week, you still want to come off the road with a few grand in your pocket. So it's not practical to go, staying at the Wyndham, on your nights off and getting massages and ordering out sushi. No, you're going to go stay with Chris Waddell, Chris Brigham, and you're going to go to Bennigan's and,
or you say, hey, so what's on the menu tonight? What are you guys making me? This sounds great.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, like those continental breakfasts, I would walk out with fruit. I'd take I'd go eat, I'd eat pancakes and whatnot. And I would take out fruit and bananas, and I'd have it in the car, and steal water bottles at the venues. And,
you're all set for retirement now. You're all set for like the blue plate special, right? This is it. No, before that, you can bring it home with you.
Well, when you do your speaking engagements, I'm sure they're putting you up, and like you're probably staying in the Waldorf Astoria, and you're not my level.
I have a wide range. Definitely, because when I came off Kilimanjaro, so I came off Kilimanjaro, we had made the movie, we climbed the mountain, we did all that stuff. We were $250,000 in debt or something like that. And I went on the road. I mean, like, just, this is the only way I know how to pay for it. And it's funny, like, I always thought this was actually in Northampton, Mass. I stayed in a hotel by the bowling alley, like kind of like down the hill from Main Street kind of thing, or Main Street. I think that's Main Street. And I stayed in this hotel, and I was positive that people were like cooking meth at this hotel. I mean, it was just one of those, like one of the ones that, and it's Northampton. I always thought Northampton was just totally, I was like, come on, it's Northampton. It can't be that bad. And it wasn't that far to go up and go grab something to eat. But yeah, I've definitely done those things where you're like, I might keep the clothes on to, not really
right,
getting,
right.
but I've also had the other ones where, and my wife and I talk about this, where it's like, we stay in the nicest places when we're by ourselves.
Yeah.
Like I was down in Mexico last year for a gig, and I was there for 3 or 4 nights, and it was just spectacular. I mean, I'm right on the beach, and I have a room that is, I mean, it's like 1,500 square feet or something like that. I mean, it's like, and all I'm doing is really sleeping there. Like I'm sleeping, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm showering. I don't need this. But yeah,
Right.
I get a bit of the range sometimes, because I'm often staying where they're staying. So that's the range. But when you're on, because I've also, like when I've done my school presentations, that's for the foundation, and we're paying the whole thing. And so I mean, when I first started out, I was spending like $15 a day. It's like free wireless. Like, okay, where can I get wireless? Where can I?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Get the emails. We're all set. We send them back out. 3, 4 schools in a day. I did a few years ago. I did a tour through New England, and I think in a week I put like 1,200 miles on the rental car.
Well, I mean, you're talking to a guy that I'm like, really? That's all? No, I realize that's a ton. Believe me, I know that's a ton, but I'm like, yeah, it's kind of rookie. You wanna talk road?
Okay, hold on. I've got a little bit more on that, because I put 1,200 miles. Then I flew from Boston to Chicago and did the marathon in Chicago, and then flew,
Okay.
all right, went back to work.
That's,
So does that help me a little bit? I didn't do all that great in the marathon.
It ups your street cred a lot. Wait, was it on the south side of Chicago?
It was all the way through. I don't know. I didn't know where I was. But what do you tell yourself? I mean, when you're going through, when you have these bad shows, when you're doing 3, 4 shows a night, when you're just in your car, blazing along, staying at these super nice hotels, what do you tell yourself? How do you keep, what's the story that you tell yourself that keeps you going when often you might want to quit? You're away from your wife, you're away from your girlfriend, you're on the road. It's not as glamorous as it sounds.
I mean, being away from my wife and my girlfriend is, they don't know about each other. No. Here's the thing. I kind of, and I got this advice from my grandmother on my dad's side, Eleanor, who was very, very supportive of my decision to forsake a real career and stability for this. She said, it's literally, it's corny. It's, at the end of the day, we're all going to die and you can't take it with you. And why don't you have something, so I don't like being on the road. I don't like driving and flying and hotels and all that stuff. But Chris, my passport is stamped. I've been all over the world, man. And things that I otherwise probably wouldn't have been I wouldn't have been able to afford to do. I've been to dozens and dozens of countries. I've been all over the United States. I've met people. I've met generals, high-ranking generals in the military. I've been not in war, but I was in Fallujah in Iraq when the mother of all bombs was dropped in Syria, which was 50 clicks away from where we heard that. I heard war. I heard tanks and people being shot. Like, so I was like, I did a show at the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait for dignitaries and people that couldn't speak English. I've been into secret rooms in the military that civilians aren't allowed to. I've seen just some amazing things. I probably shouldn't have said that last part. But and I've met such an eclectic and amazing group of people that I wouldn't trade any of it, man. I've seen the world, and I still have. And the more you see the world, the more you realize you haven't seen shit. Right? Like I remember going, wow, I've been to 3 countries. I've seen the whole world. No. Well, then you get to a new one. And you're like, oh, I didn't know this or this or this. And, I traveled all over Israel, and we went to the Holy Land and the Dead Sea, and just things that I otherwise would never have had the opportunity. So I feel I've lived the life of a multi-millionaire at no money down. Because all the cruises that I did, all those military shows, those are paid for. So I'm not walking away with a ton of money, but I go to, the United Arab Emirates or Germany, and I do these military gigs. I come home with $1,000 in my pocket, but I just saw things that people don't normally get to see. And so that also helps keep me going. And my brain got me that. My art got me that. So I every now and again, I'll pat myself. If it all ended tomorrow, which is, we don't know when it's going to start back up again. I never made it to that, that brass ring level, but geez, man, I've stayed in the show for 27 years. I haven't had to have a, knock on wood, I haven't had to have a day job in 27 years. I've met amazing, amazing people. I'm not famous, but I can, I come off good on a podcast because I know a lot of famous people. There's pictures of me with famous people. So
That's a great answer. Is that front and center when you're in those difficult times? Is that front and center of, because the thing is, yes, I mean, I agree with you 100%. You've lived a spectacular life. And the thing is, doing what you're doing, there's Steinbeck wrote Travels with Charlie, right? So Charlie was his dog, his like French poodle, and they just drove across country because he felt like he'd lost the voice of the nation. Like he'd become successful and he was separate and he couldn't connect with what's going on, which is the essence of what you do, right? Is connecting with all kinds of people all over the world. And but can you keep that? Can you keep that front and center? Can you say, this is part of the learning process. This is part of the experience. When it is the most difficult, the nastiest, when you get into bed and go, oh, what's in there? Like I can't even get into bed, or something. I'm going to go sleep on the chair in my room as opposed to the bed because this looks disgusting or something. I mean, it's like, because these things do happen. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. No, I do. It's funny because I need to be reminded of that a lot of times. Sometimes I can do it myself. Chelsea is very, very good about reminding me of those type of things, because you do go through those. Everyone goes through depression, and especially now. I mean, with all of a sudden working so for so many years, so hard, and then all of a sudden I'm out of a job in March with nothing, nothing on the horizon. And then it's like, oh, woe is me. But then it's like, okay, but again, like if it ends all day, I've been really, really, really lucky that I've been able to see all these, wonderful things. It's, it's funny. And again, I don't want to make it political or anything, but I'll watch people on Facebook with opinions about what's going on today. And these are people that I know personally who have really never left their hometown or their home state, and they get up and they go to work in a cubicle and then they come home, but they know everything. They know everything about Biden or Trump or what's their Kamala, everything that's going on, or Fauci. Oh, I know this. I know, they're keyboard warriors. And I never respond. I just sit there and I go, yeah, okay. All right. I actually do know, because I have been all over the place and I have met people and I know, but I'm gonna zip it. And so I take comfort knowing that I have had wonderful opportunities that I otherwise wouldn't have. Whereas I think some people don't have those opportunities, and they don't see that. I don't know, I'm probably coming across as very uneducated and not eloquent right now. But the more you know, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know anything. And the more you see, the more you're like, I don't know shit. Like I said, I've been in like 50 countries right now, and I'm like, I haven't even scratched the surface of the planet. you know, whereas my first 5 years in comedy, I knew everything. I could have taught a class, college level. I knew everything. I'm 27 years in. I don't know shit. I don't know if my next joke is going to work.
That's the way it goes. Wow, I had a question all loaded, and then you got me going in the opposite direction with your
sorry.
last statement. You're making my job tough. But how do you know? So I'm going to follow up on that. How do you know when something is funny?
If it makes me laugh, that's it. That is it. I am my only audience. And if I giggle, I wake up laughing. You can ask my wife. Like a lot of people wake up from nightmares. Oh my God, what was the guy? I wake up laughing and she'll be like, what are you doing? Why aren't you asleep? I'm like, what? I just, literally, I thought of this last night. And again, this will probably piss people off. And it's not a joke. It was just a funny thought that woke me up. Because you can't say pronouns in the Senate floor anymore. You can't say he, she, he, so they should be called Democrats. They and that. And it woke me up. It's not a joke. That's probably the only time I'll ever say it. But I was lying in bed and I woke up laughing because that thought popped into my head. What was your question?
So it's yeah, this is great. So it's just you. You are your only audience. It's not your wife. It's not the kids. It's not. Because obviously you work it through a club and you think it's funny. Yes. Are there times that you get out there and you go, hold on, no, that's funny. Why aren't you people laughing? Like, that's funny. You should laugh at that.
There have been times where I've said something to that effect on stage, but when I tell you that I am my only audience, I'm the only one that needs to find it funny. I still run it by other comedians. I have a small network of guys that we have jam sessions over the phone, or I'll call someone and go, hey, have you heard a joke like this? I want to do this joke. And then we tweak it with each other. We go back and forth. I run it by my wife, if she thinks it's funny. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who else thinks it's funny. It made me laugh. And that said, along the lines of what you were just saying, there have been times on stage where I'm trying a whole chunk of new stuff. And I'm like, and it doesn't work. And I'm like, I know that's funny. And then I'll say another new joke that I don't even think is that great. And people howl, they'll laugh and they'll clap. And in my head, I'm like, that's not even funny. Why are you laughing? Don't laugh at me. You're going to encourage me to write shitty jokes at that stupid level. And so the one thing that I have learned in all these years of stand-up comedy, you're never going to perform in front of the same audience twice. So you can look out and you think you know what that crowd is, but you don't. You're not going to know until you get there. And it's going to be different every night of the week. Even though you could be doing the same routine, the same jokes in the same order, it's going to be different crowd and there's going to be different energy in that room. And the energy is, as you know, from your public speaking engagements, you can feel the energy right away.
You can, and it's an interesting, and I often spend time with people beforehand, so you kind of get the temperature of the room before you get on stage, which can be really helpful. Do you still? I mean, you were saying, that you're fulfilled doing what you're doing. You're learning. You're going around. You're hustling. You're grinding it out. I mean, this is like Rounders or whatever, right? This is the.
Yeah, great analogy. Yeah.
This is the I'm trying to think of his name. I can't think of his name, the actor.
Matt Damon and Edward Norton.
Well, it was Edward Norton, but then the guy who was the
Kevin Spacey.
No, the guy who was who was like the grinder. The guy, he was in Barton Fink. John
Goodman?
No. Anyway, I'll come back to it. But he was the grinder. He didn't take the big chances, didn't live big, but he was just grinding it out. But looking at that, I've now created my analogy. Do you have your World Series of Poker? Do you have the one that you go, oh, okay, is there a venue? Is there something that I want to play that is your gold ring?
Oh, you know what? I've not an actual venue. No. Any place where there's an audience that finds me funny is Madison Square Garden. To me, it doesn't matter. It could be a Golden Corral. It could be it could be the Taj Mahal. It really it really doesn't matter. I will tell you, I touched upon it earlier when I was performing at the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait, and that was a kind of a pinch me moment. Now, for the record, it was one of the worst shows I've ever had in my life. And all of us, there was a group of us, and we all bombed. But my friend Ken Garr actually made the joke there, like, "Wow, I guess it's not a good idea to bomb at the U.S. Embassy."
Oh,
And
that's
but
up in handcuffs. Yeah.
it was one of those shows that we were set up to fail. There were children in the room, and children of dignitaries. There were sheiks and emirs and generals and five-star, like, and behind us, there wasn't a stage. We were just standing on a floor, and behind us was a bouncy house, like one of those big bouncy, and all these kids are playing, or jumping up and down. Hardly any of the people there speak English, so we had an interpreter, which is weird. You probably have them all the time at your events, maybe sign.
Not all the time. I've done it a couple of times, but it's hard timing wise. It's brutal.
Yeah. And so just looking out at and it was a dinner. It was like one of these, it would be the equivalent of the correspondence dinner at the White House. A lot of very important people in this room, looking at 5 comedians, telling just dick jokes, and just the looks of disdain. I mean, it wasn't bombing. The people looking at us like we were just bad people, just kind of like shaking their heads and ashamed for whoever put this on. And again, to our defense, they didn't tell the crowd, like we were a surprise. Whoever organized this on part of our Armed Force Entertainment Tour said, "Oh, it'll be fun because these people are so stiff and uptight. We'll bring some levity to this event. We'll have some comedians," because we were performing at a military base not too far from there anyway. So we were the surprise guests. Now, it's one thing to have a hot chick in a bathing suit jump out of a cake and sing "Happy Birthday, Mr. President." That's great. That's great. Even a singing telegram like Buddy the Elf, Will Ferrell and Elf. That's funny. But 5 comedians who all still had to stick to our time. So, the show had to be an hour long, so we each had to do,
12 minutes. Yeah.
And so, and I went third that night. I literally went right in the middle. I watched my 2 friends just eat it in front of me, and then I went up, and still, I know it was going to be bad, but I'm like, well, I'll turn them. I'll get the crowd. I know what to do. And I was even worse than the first 2 guys. And then the guy who went last, and I won't say his name, the guy who went last he just, at that point, he didn't care. And he just went super filthy. He went super filthy. And we were instructed, do not go filthy because there's dignitaries, there's children. And he just went, F this, and he made us laugh. He made the other 4 comedians we loved it. I mean, he bombed. He completely ate it on stage, but we loved it. So he put on a show for us. So that was great.
That's the setting though. I mean, that's the hard part, right? You get rooms that it doesn't matter what you do.
Right.
You're going to fail. How do you get a gig like that? Not specifically at the embassy, but how do you get the gig to do like the USO stuff? Or is that what it is?
I mean, it's just like you get any gig. There's circuits, and same thing like with cruise ships or colleges or their clubs. There's just different markets out there. A good buddy of mine, Don Barnhart, who owns a couple of comedy clubs in Vegas, Jokesters Comedy Club and Delirious Comedy Club. He was working for the Armed Force Entertainment, and he had tours all over Europe. That was just one particular one that I went on. I went Battle Comics. I can't remember several of the different organizations that I worked for, but I've been to Japan. I've been to Korea. I've literally different companies that I've worked for. Not USO. I have not worked for the USO, but Armed Force Entertainment is the, USO is Bob Hope and Toby Keith and Garth Brooks and Robin Williams, the big, literally it's the A circuit. Armed Force Entertainment is, my level. And here's the difference though. And again, I know this from all the people that I worked with on the bases. There, like we were in Africa, we were in, Djibouti. I know it sounds like a fake country. That's a real country. Djibouti. We're in Djibouti, Africa, Camp Lemonnier, I think it was. And Garth Brooks had been there a week before us. Now that's a marquee name. And the crowd said, yeah, he was great. He put on a good show, but he literally walked out, did his 2 hours, walked off stage. They never saw him again.
Right.
We stay there. We stay on the base. We hang out with these soldiers, with the troops. We get to know them personally. We were doing shows in a airport hangar. There was a troop. There was a bunch of troops that were about to be, literally, this was in Iraq. They're about to be flown into a skirmish or a battle, whatever you call it, and they were waiting for B-10 or B-15. Again, I'm bad with the names of the planes. They were waiting for their plane to come pick them up. And so it was like a moment of like Robin Williams in Good Morning Vietnam. We did an impromptu show. No microphone, no stage, no nothing. They're standing there waiting to go as we're getting a tour of the base. And one of the guys, Mark Yaffe, one of the comics on the tour with us, said, "You want to hear our show?" And we each just did 5 minutes. So we gave them a 25-minute show, and they loved it. And then they got on their plane and went off to battle. And we weren't paid for that. That wasn't extra part of the money. We just did that because we got to meet the troops, and it felt freaking great. It felt really, really great because I was never in the military, and I was kind of a wuss for not, doing my part to serve the country. But going back and doing a lot of these military gigs makes me feel a little less guilty.
You're contributing. You're helping these guys out who are in a really difficult situation. Being in a war situation, I cannot imagine.
It really is. Chris, when we were in Iraq, one of the places, and again, I can't remember the exact name, we stayed in the barracks. We stayed in bunk bed cots with 43 troops. They're all 18 to 22 years old. All these young kids, they sleep with their guns. They sleep with their guns with them because in case shit goes down, they got to get up and go. And here's 5 comedians in there, and it's a fart fest. These young kids just farting and burping, and just like it was like being in a college frat house, again. But what they go through in a typical day no one ever sees here on the news. It's not glamorous. It's not going to sell papers. But just every day when you're in Iraq sucks. It just sucks what they go through. And we just did it for a couple of days. And then they ship us to Kuwait, and we're staying in the Radisson right on the ocean. And 3 days ago, we're in a bunk bed cot. And I'm like, these kids are still in that cot. They're sleeping in that. They don't have Wi-Fi. They don't have cell phones. They don't have all the conveniences that we do. It's awful. The living conditions it's hard. It's really hard. So, I hate to be one of those guys, give it up for the troops. But, they really do sacrifice a lot that is unseen and unreported.
So an emotional part has to be so hard, right? If you're at war, I can only imagine that it's really hard to sleep at night. I mean, you say they're sleeping with their weapons. Like,
yeah,
you're thinking it could happen at any moment. So the coolest part of what you were doing is you were actually giving them a moment of levity. I mean, like they talk about laughing as being one of the most healthy things that you can do, right? And so you're giving them something healthy in a really difficult situation. So that's a great gift. You might not have served, but you gave them a tremendous gift.
Moments. Yeah. It's weird, Chris. And I don't know if you ever felt this way, because I know you've done a lot of things in front of our troops before. They come up and they thank you. Sometimes there are almost tears in their eyes. Oh, you made my day, or you made me forget about this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I feel guilty. I'm like, all I did is tell you some dick jokes. You are, helping keep our country safe and secure. thank you. And I really, it's one thing to do it online. Oh, thank the truth. But when you're looking face to face at one of these young kids and you just put a smile on their face, I got to tell you, I mean, it's crazy rewarding. And I do feel a little bit guilty. It makes me feel smaller. Like, why are they thanking me when I'm not doing anything except for cracking jokes? You know what I mean? And then I get to leave a week later. They're still going to be there for another year.
Yeah, it's an interesting, and sometimes that I think is the challenging part of being in front of an audience, right? Because one, you're getting paid to be there, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
clearly, well, thank you, but the thing is that you are giving them a gift. That's how I think we have to look at it, is that you're in front of somebody and you've got to give them something that's worthwhile. Give them that moment of levity, give them the opportunity for a belly laugh, do those kinds of things and look at it, because it's really easy to beat yourself up too and say, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything worthwhile. But they're leaving potentially changed after your 15-minute set, or 12-minute set, or whatever you had.
Yeah.
Maybe not the embassy. Maybe the embassy wasn't.
Oh, we're on a no-fly list after that one. We can't set foot in Kuwait anymore.
Your picture is everywhere, so you're famous. You got that going for you.
Yeah. They banned us from Twitter in Kuwait.
That's awesome. Well done. So you did have a moment where your career could have, because it's funny. I mean, you made a career change to do this.
Yeah.
Comedy, and you've lived a really full life. And what's interesting as well is that so many comedians, it sounds like, deal with depression. Like, they're the ones who are funny and giving it up, but yet are not entertaining themselves.
Right.
You sound entirely different than that, where life's a giggle for you. It's like, hey, it's all good. It's all funny. But
can I tell you one thing? I'm sorry. Am I interrupting? I didn't know.
No, go ahead. No, this is perfect.
I joke about this, but there's a tremendous amount of truth to the fact that I would be far more famous and successful than I am now if I had a really difficult childhood. Because a lot of the guys that, some of your biggest icons, not just in comedy and acting and music, had really troubled, tortured pasts, childhoods. A lot of them, had issues with their parents or poverty or that, I had it really well. My family was loving and great. And we were spoiled little ski racers, and I don't have a lot of pain to draw from. So, pain does come across. Look, Chris Rock had that special, Bring On the Pain. I mean, Chris Rock came from hard, they had it really tough. I had, and again, I had white privilege and I didn't have it that difficult. I draw from things that I think are silly, I mean, the toughest thing you and I had to go through was, waiting till 2004 for the Red Sox to win the World Series. Oh, well, I don't mean you also had that thing. No, but I don't have that pain to draw through from like a lot of other entertainers do. So I don't feel guilty about that, but I also, I realize my place is probably where it is because I don't have that next level.
Do you blame your parents?
Yeah. Why couldn't they have diddled me in the bed or something? You know what I mean? They could have, there's a lot of things they could have done to make it worse. And, I'll talk to them about it next time I go home. No, I did. I'm incredibly blessed. My whole family, I had some wonderful, wonderful friends growing up, you being one of them. And the ski racing community was so tight, right? I mean, we were like a family. Every single one of us knew each other very, very well. And it was such an intense experience that we all went through together. I kind of liken the bond to the bond that a lot of military people share.
Because it was on the road. I mean, it was different.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you probably felt it too, where you go to your school, and growing up, because we started training. I went to my first sleepaway ski camp when I was 10 years old. And that was
Wildcat.
Well, this one, I went to Titcomb Mountain because my coach at Mount Tom had skied for UMF, for the University of Maine Farmington. And so over Christmas, we went and skied at Titcomb, which is where they had skied. And we had later that year, the championships were at Sugarloaf.
Right.
So
I remember that.
You remember that? I know. I remember that fondly. It was the first time I ever beat you in the GS.
I
might not remember that.
remember watching your run. Let's focus just for 1 second on the name of the mountain where that camp was. I'll let it go, but maybe it could pop up just so the viewers can see. I'll try to take the high road, but come on. Okay. It's right up there with Lake Titicaca. So, which is a real lake, viewers. But I remember watching you, Chris. You were 10 years old. And yeah, that was the first time you beat me. I'm still a little pissed by that, but
it could be.
You had like a Franz Klammer run in that giant slalom. I remember you catching crazy amount of air and windmilling, totally just, you hit that thing wrong. And I'm like, oh, he's going to crash. He's going down. Somehow, not only did you stick the landing, but you did that quick snap and then you made that turn and you were just all over the place. You remember being like Felix McGrath. You remember Felix?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's how he skied slalom. He was just like, how is he still on his feet? But I remember that run of yours. Literally, I was standing there and just watching you huck that air. It's still burned in my mind now. And that was what, 1978?
78. That would have been 78. Because think about that though. That was back when freestyle was getting big. That was like the Wayne Long days. And
yes,
at Mount Tom, we had one trail at Mount Tom where we could jump. You couldn't jump on it, and not that we didn't.
Right.
You get your class pulled. But it was, yeah. And so jumping was a huge part of it. Go jump.
I remember freestyle was huge. We had a guy from Brody Mountain, Johnny Kirby, who made the U.S. freestyle team. I don't know if you knew that name at all, but yeah, that was huge. Yeah, but Chris, it's burned in my brain that run of yours that you're hucking, and it's just like, no way is he gonna land, no way. And I was standing by your parents. Your parents were right there. I was secretly rooting for you to crash because I didn't want you to beat me. But so I didn't want to say that in front of your parents. Inside I was like, oh, come on, hit the gate. But you stuck the landing, and it was so impressive. So impressive. Oh man, those were the good old days.
This is when the glory days Bruce Springsteen song's gonna play, right? We've got our glory days.
You know what's interesting is that the last time I saw you in person was this past March. I came out there. I had that corporate show for Jimmy Schaefer and the Guggenheim Group. So there's that wonderful picture of me, you, Heidi Voelker, and Jimmy Schaefer all wearing our tri-state hats that Heidi had made for us personally. And then 1 week later, the pandemic hit. So we were all on lockdown. So at least we got to celebrate our last moments of freedom as a little skier unit from tri-state days.
It was exactly, and that was great fun. And it was for you. You hadn't been on skis in a
while. Yeah. And I couldn't believe that I was able to keep up with all of you guys. Like I was like, wow, it's like riding a bike. I mean, I did get winded riding up the chairlift because I'm not in good shape anymore. So that's bad when you're out of breath just from the altitude. But no, I can still shred. I don't brag about my comedy or my drumming or my guitar playing. I don't brag about anything, but I can rip on skis. You had Darren Rolfs last week. I skied with him. Remember, I skied with him, and I was keeping up with him.
Exactly.
I could probably beat Darren. If you're watching this, Darren, let's do it. You live close by.
He will do it. Yeah. No, I think Darren will give you a call. I remember going because you didn't have any equipment, and going with you and Heidi to the ski shop, and the guy at the ski shop going, yeah, you won't be able to ski on these. And Heidi and I are like, he'll be fine. Don't worry. He'll be fine. You had your Patriots gear on. You looked like you looked like one of those people that you have to be nervous about on the ski hill. You're like, okay, hold on. He's wearing his Patriots gear. Stay clear of that guy. He's probably just going to go straight.
Yeah. Oh no, I know. I do. I look like an accident. I look like a lawsuit. They're like, oh, no, we can't give you the good stuff in good consciousness. I get it. I get it. But again, it's because I started. My dad had me on skis when I was 2 years old. So no matter how much time I take off in between, it literally it's the old like riding a bike.
Yeah,
You know,
it comes back.
I'm not gonna be able to rip.
It's
Yeah.
that chairlift ride, that first chairlift ride though, right? Where you're going up going, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like comedy. Like, you still have that apprehension. It's that fear. It's that jumping out of the airplane. I remember riding up on that lift that morning going and knowing I'm skiing with some of the most elite skiers in the United States of America. I'm like, oh, this is going to be, at least I'm a comedian. And so they can go, oh, well, yeah, he's funny. That's, and so you're like, am I going to remember how to do this? And then within 2 turns,
Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm good, no
I
problem.
got this.
It might have
literally in my head, I'm like, I'm ready to compete.
Where's that NASCAR? Come on, Schaefer, let's go.
Oh, I wanted to race Heidi on the NASCAR course, but they wouldn't let us for some reason. Even Heidi at Deer Valley, because they were doing something over at the NASCAR course. But I literally
probably bought it. Yeah,
I was so cocky. I was like, I will kick her ass because she's a woman. So there's no way. You know what I mean? No way. And those of you watching, we've known each other since childhood. I can say that, and I did. It's not a sexist thing. That's the thing. If I ever, this is the wonderful dichotomy of being on your show, Chris, and thank you for having me, by the way. Let's say your show blows up. Let's say this segment blows up and it helps my career. Just by watching this, I will have been canceled. I probably said 20 things just on your show that will get me canceled. So that which brought me the gold will also be what has taken it away. But yeah, I would have kicked Heidi's ass because she's a girl and girls can't beat guys. Said Bobby. What was it? Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs.
Bobby Riggs.
I'm the Bobby Riggs of skiing.
and
Such an arcane reference.
And I know that Heidi would be perfectly happy to kick your ass as well.
Oh, she would. No, I know. She would just dust me all over the place. That would be fun. That would be fun though. But I did want to challenge her. I really did.
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? It's all in good fun. It's all for bragging rights now, right? I mean, that's really all you ever get is the bragging rights. And if you manage to pull it out, you would have had bragging rights for the rest of your life.
Forever. Well, I never would have stepped on skis again. What would be the point? Like, you want to leave on a high note. So if I kick Heidi Voelker's ass in a NASCAR race, then good night. You know what's interesting is how I got into stand-up was very back asswards. Again, it wasn't a plan. When I was at UMass, I was still ski racing, and but I was also in a band. I played drums in a band, and so there was that moment where I was like, hey, maybe this will be my thing, because it was really fun, really fun doing concerts, and it was just covers. We had maybe 1 or 2 originals, but it was cover frat houses, local bars, that type of thing in Amherst, and we had a lineup kind of like Fleetwood Mac. There was 2 women and three men. And just like Fleetwood Mac, as the drummer, I was the only one not getting any. Poor Mick Fleetwood's back there watching, everyone else. But so the lead singer and the lead guitar player were a couple, and they used to fight like right in the middle of our shows.
Oh no!
Because Chris would like be flirting with a girl in the audience, and his girlfriend Aaron would be like, I saw you, whatever. And so our band would be taking a lot more breaks than we were supposed to. You know how like a band does like a 2-hour, 3-hour set, they take a break every 45 minutes. So we're taking breaks because these 2 are fighting, and we're getting paid sometimes, you know what I mean? And so like, it's very unprofessional. So I would walk out to the microphone, step out from behind the drums, walk to the mic, and just tell the crowd what was happening. And sometimes they would laugh, right? And so I would kind of run with it, like, and then it felt good. Like, oh, I'm getting laughs. I'm out from behind the drums. And then I would tell like some street jokes, Or like, I remember one time I did like some Eddie Murphy routine and they were laughing hysterically. And then it came time to go back and playing, and I'm behind the drums, and there were some people yelling out like, bring the drummer back, you know? And so the little ego would kick in like, oh, I don't need the band. I'm the drummer that's going to go solo, but not with music.
That's when you caught the bug. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
But then I had moved to Boston. I graduated from UMass in '91, moved to Boston that fall, and then continued to hang out in comedy clubs. And then was watching, and in my head, I was like, I've kind of already done this with the band. Like what these guys are doing up on the stage, I think I could do that because I used to talk to audiences when I was in the band. And then signed up for open mic night, and
that was it. Now,
rest
the
is history.
competition part is kind of interesting because you were talking about the competition of, wanting to beat Heidi and these kinds of things.
Oh,
The
yeah.
competitor in you doesn't go away. But
Oh, no.
but you got asked early, approaching the first season of Last Comic Standing. They asked you if you'd how did it work? Did they ask you if you'd be on it? Did they ask you if you'd audition? And what
Yeah.
did you say?
I said, and again, I don't want to mention any names because, I'm still in the same business. I said it was the dumbest idea I'd ever heard of my life. And there's no possible way anyone would ever watch something, because it was humiliating to stand-up comedians, to put stand-up comedians in a situation like that.
And it was, what was it? Like you would have stayed, like everybody was in a house kind of.
Everyone was
out to do crazy stuff.
Yeah. And then, so they would have things like, challenges, right? I guess on TikTok, it would be called a challenge, but they would say, you're going to get on this bus and you're going to do stand-up comedy on the bus and try to get, strangers to laugh. You're going to go to a laundromat. You're all going to be living in a house together, and it's going to be one of this and one of the, they're like the Benetton, we're going to have one of everything. And it just sounded just absolutely. And it wasn't just me. There was a handful of other comics that I know very well, that, were asked to do the show. And it became
so right up your alley.
Yeah.
I mean, like living in a house with other comics, like after living in a dormitory at a ski academy,
right,
for so many years, like this is who you were.
Right. Well, yeah, in reality, yes, but it's also not a reality show. And again, I don't want to say too much on, and make it official, because this is time stamped, I'll tell you. But knowing how reality shows worked, because I actually worked for a production company that shot pilots for several reality shows. There's no such thing as a reality show. They're not scripted. You don't have lines verbatim, but it's what they call blocked. They're blocked out. Hey, you're going to do this. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. It's so phony. It's so ridiculously fake. It's not sincere on any way, shape, or form. So from that perspective, in real life, would I have done something like that? Sure. If I was married right now and 9 other comics said, hey, you want to come live in this house and we'll do a gig at a laundromat? I'd be like, yeah, we've been on lockdown. I'll do a lot. Yeah, I'll get on a bus and do a gig. Back at the time, I was young and I still thought I had a shot of doing something much better, And so, yeah, it did not seem like a good idea. There was another really dumb decision that I made in hindsight. A friend of mine was working on a brand new cartoon show on this relatively new network called Comedy Central. And I read one of the spec scripts that she had, and it was awful. It was just, I'm like, it was smart writing. But I'm like, in a cartoon, they're 10-year-old boys in this town called South Park. Who's going to watch that? Happens to be my favorite show of all time, over Cheers, over Seinfeld. I don't think, there's South Park, Family Guy's right here, but listen, you've known me since you were 9 years old. No one has ever accused me of being smart.
Well, it's the way that this business goes too, right? Because you mentioned that somebody who is on your level at Last Comic Standing,
Yeah.
at your level as far as comedy was concerned, as far as your pay rate was concerned, which
Yeah.
this is one of those things. I mean, it's your pay rate is something between zero and infinity, right? It's like, what's your value? It's somewhere in between, but this is what you're getting paid on a regular basis. And
Yeah.
you said that this guy, it might have been a guy, it might have been a woman, I don't remember, went on Last Comic Standing, and all of a sudden the pay rate went from X to 10X.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
As a result.
It was Dat Fan. And I'm still very good friends with him to
And he
this day.
won.
We worked together many, many times. He won. He was, his parents were from Vietnam, yeah, Asian kid, great guy. And he was very, very, very unknown, comic. And yeah, he won it. And he went from having 15 minutes of okay material to, hey, now you're headlining and you're getting, X amount over the, for the weekend. So yeah, so what it did, was, I mean, it catapulted a lot of people. So season number 2 comes rolling around. Myself and several other comics were like, hey, we'd love to do it.
That sounds like a great idea. We should
It's
do
just the best idea. Literally, after thinking about it, it's the best idea I've ever heard in my entire life. And it was like, bye-bye. Yeah, and then same thing with the South Park. It wound up being like the show that put Comedy Central on the map, and it's still running today. South Park is so yeah. I've certainly made some mistakes, and I've also put my eggs in some baskets that I thought, now Last Comic Standing was awful, but this is going to be the thing. It's like investing in pet rocks now or something. Like I've done some really. I've made some awful decisions in my life, but I
and
think
you're not alone in that. It's not,
Oh God.
and you look back on it and go, oh, that's the one I should have done. That would have been the
Yeah.
one that moved me.
Yeah.
After,
I mean, I've been on the 1 yard line, like first and goal several times with some things that really would have next leveled me, and through no fault of my own haven't worked. But that's just the business, and it's a common tale. And I'm 53. I'm certainly I'm not in the on deck circle, you would think, for the next level, but I'm in this thing forever, and I still believe in myself, and I believe one of these things is gonna, and it could be living it.
could be living it. It probably will be, actually. This is
Yeah.
going to be the thing. I mean, that's how I got you on the show, was that we're going to catapult you in your, but the thing is, you're always developing your voice, aren't you?
Always, yeah.
You're developing your voice, and you look at, like, I mean, Rodney was one of the biggest ever, right? And he didn't
Yes.
really make it until like
He was in his 50s.
50s. Okay, so he was in
50s,
his,
yeah.
so the clock's ticking, but
Yeah. Well, no, it is true. It's going tick tock tick. I'll tell you a separate TikTok story. Well, I know very little about it. The kids do the TikTok, and they show me TikTok videos all the time, and they're like, you should do it. And I'm like, no, because I have originality. So I wouldn't be good on you know what I mean? Like it just seems like all it is you're mimicking someone else, and they do these challenges, and you're lip syncing, so anyway, one of the kids found a TikTok video. I'll send it to you after we do this. Found a TikTok video. Some young girl found one of my videos from the Laugh Factory on Instagram and mimicked me to a T, so much that I was like, oh, was this created in CGI? It tripped me out, blew my freaking brains. And of course, it got more views than anything I've ever done.
So can you share this? How does TikTok work? I don't really know. Can you share it to like your population or to the world in general?
I don't. Yeah, I have actually the clip of it. My wife sent it to me, so I can send it to you. I'll try to figure out how to put it up on Facebook, but I don't know if Facebook and TikTok are compatible. I'm technologically, way behind the curve. Again, which is another reason why I'm probably not further along. I mean, there are people, some people work on their act, some people work on their social media. I work on my act. And you need to do both. You need to do both. You really need to, work that angle. And I don't know, it's not my thing, social media.
It's a hard one. I will ask some questions and see if you can share that out, because it's one of those that sometimes that is the thing that catapults you. I mean, this might be, which would be so backwards and bizarre.
It would be awesome. It would be fun. But Chris, when you see this, you'll be. I mean, she was doing my mannerisms. She did me way better than I did me. And I'm so random. How would she find some random video of me on Instagram? So I have no idea how she found it. I should probably reach out to her and just say, hey, God bless you. Good for you. I mean, it was really, really flattering.
Well, send it to us. We might have to put it out there to promote you for this whole thing, or promote.
Oh, okay, sure.
I don't know. I don't know how this stuff works. I'm trying to figure out how this stuff works. But coming off of the COVID quarantine.
Yeah.
And you're eventually, I mean, hopefully, right? I mean, we have the vaccine, things are going to get better. We don't know exactly when they're going to get better, but you're going to be back out there.
I certainly hope so. Yeah.
Have you changed at all during this time of quarantine? You say you're writing all the time. Has your voice changed? Are you kind of excited to see, I mean, it's kind of like the beginning of the ski season, right? Like you've gone out and you've trained really hard in the off season and you're like, I'm strong, I'm good mentally, I'm there, I'm ready. Is this kind of the way it feels for you?
In a way. Now I've tested the water. I've done a handful of shows so far, not a lot, but with the COVID protocols, the audience is 25 feet away from you, minimum 25 feet. So there's like a dance floor distance between you and the nearest person wearing a mask. And, comedy is such an intimate sport. You need that eye contact, people right in the front row. And again, the energy, to feel their energy. Well, they're so far back, you can't really see them. And if they're laughing, it's kind of muffled. And if someone heckles you, heaven forbid, it's John Wilkes Booth. Where did that come from? You know what I mean? Because you can't, they're masked up. You have 3 different microphones. When the host brings you on stage, normally we hug or we at least shake hands. You can't go near that person. You're standing in a box on stage. You can't leave that box. So when you say it's like approaching, like ski racing, it went from bamboo gates to rapid gates to the stubbies to the super long skis to the hourglass shape. Well, this is actually like going in reverse. It's like having the stubbies, the hourglass skis, and now we're going back to long skis and bamboo. It's like, that's so and the political climate and the wokeness and the social justice warriors looking to cancel people everywhere. It's remarkably harder than it was even a year ago to be a stand-up comedian. And it's going to be, hopefully things, get a little bit better, but I'm up for the challenge. That's the thing. It's going to suck, but like, hey, I would rather be out there attempting something that I probably will fail at than, sitting here, at the house playing my guitar and, writing stuff that doesn't have an audience for. So, what I mean?
You need an audience, don't you? I mean, it's almost like you need that purpose to really shape your message, to shape your joke. You need the immediacy and you need that adrenaline sometimes. I mean, it's like you live off of that adrenaline. I was there. I told you I was going to get you out on the last one, but I was there one time when it got a little too intimate. And I need my sleep. So I was there. We were there for the early show.
Right.
And then we were back home. This was in Ogden, Utah.
Oh yeah. Wise guys
in Ogden, Utah. And so you called me up after your second show and said, I created a fight. Somebody was heckling you which I would imagine happens. And somebody else was like, hey, this guy's funny. Like, shut up. We don't want to listen to you. We want to listen to him. And I guess I mean, from what you told me, it
Yes.
came to blows
It came to blows.
in the parking lot.
That's happened on several occasions, not with just me, other comedians, because like, and again, more and more, especially with social media, everyone has a voice now. And it's one thing to have your voice on the keyboard or texting, but people think, the illusion of live performance is out the window now. They're like, well, if I can comment on it, I can just say whatever I want. People heckling left and right now. And sometimes audience members get pissed because they paid to watch a show. They don't want to hear some jerk off's opinion in the last row, or so a lot of times audience members will, hey, shut up, and they fight with each other. And that was one of those, and it's funny because it's in Utah, and it's heavily Mormon populated. And so it's one thing for Boston guys to get mad and F you, F you, F you. And these guys are like, you know what? Cheese and rice. I'm gonna whip your gosh darn tushy out in the parking lot, you silly old S. It was like Ned Flanders arguing with Oakley Dokley. So to see Mormons get pissed at each other was very funny. It was very funny, memorable.
Is that scary? I mean, it has to be scary, like, because you're the guy on stage, and we talked about it earlier. Like, you've got to push the envelope, and if you're going to push the envelope, you run the risk of insulting somebody.
Of
and
course,
somebody who's going to come find you afterwards.
Yeah.
And what is that kind of fear like? Because you have the fear of getting on stage. I hope people love me, and then you have the fear of like, I hope people don't want to kick my ass.
Yeah. And I don't think about it, to be honest with you. It has happened. I've been confronted on more than one occasion. Nothing bad has ever happened, except for there was one time that I was afraid for my life. I was in Texas, Beaumont, Texas, at a place called GK's Comedy Club, and it was very Texan, the heart of Texas. And again, there was a bachelorette party in the front row, all these young gals, and there was a guy way in the back who used to go out with the girl who was about to be married.
Oh,
and so he was heckling her, and she made a comment, and I'm not doing anything. He's not mad at me. He's yelling at her. I'm having fun with the girls in the front row, and she says, "Oh, he's just pissed off because I dumped him because he got a little old dick." Right? And now the people immediately around her can hear that, but the rest of the audience can't. So I make the mistake of holding the microphone down, and I go, "Sweetheart, could you repeat that so everyone could hear it?" So she says it. Now the whole room is, they're laughing. So this guy gets up and he starts coming towards the stage. Now he's not mad at her. Somehow he's mad at me because I facilitated that. I was the Jerry Springer of, I instigated. So he's coming to kick my butt. Security guards, the security who are normally non-existent, they're all over this guy like crazy. And they're dragging him out. And the audience is literally doing the na, 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 hey, hey, hey. And as they're dragging him out, I'm being what would probably be considered homophobic by today's standards, but I'm blowing him kisses. I'm going, "I'll see you later. Oh, honey, make sure the bed's ready. I can't wait to see you after the show. Oh, please be in the parking lot. Oh, I can't, I'm doing that." And
which is not a good idea.
And the audience is just, they're just, pounding the tables, laughing. And I'm in the moment, you know what I mean? In hindsight, it was dumb. So that was on the early show. We have a 10:30 show, which ends around midnight. I sit at the bar and I have a couple of cocktails, and the only people left there are a couple other performers and the staff. My hotel room is directly across the street, motel room, kind with the key. Yeah. And I walk out into the parking lot, and I'm a little bit tipsy. And this guy goes, hey, Mr. Funny Man. And I turn, and it's him. He's leaning up against the car. Now he has a gun, and he's just spinning it. He's just got a little pistol. He's not aiming it at me. He's just spinning it, doing this kind of thing. He goes, "Come on over here, see how funny you are. Why don't you take a look at, I just bought this. It's like a 38 snub nose. Great little, you'd love this thing." And I'm like, oh, And I hightail it back into the club, and I tell them, I go, hey, this guy's got a gun, and they're like, did he aim it at you? I'm like, no. But he was like saying he wanted to show it to me, which, can you call the police?
Enough.
And like, it's Texas, man. What are we going to tell the police? He didn't threaten you. He didn't aim it at you. He didn't do anything wrong. Everyone has a conceal thing in Texas. And so I go, can you guys walk me? Literally, I was scared shitless, man, because I'm not a gun guy. I've never seen, you know what I mean? And again, Chris, he didn't aim it at me, but the fact that he wanted to call me over to show it to me, I mean, it wasn't going to end well. He might not have shot me.
Enough for me. Yeah, that would scare me to death.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And I asked the security guys who were still there, and they were drinking now too, because all the place was officially closed. It was only just staff. And they said, let's just wait a little while. We'll walk you to your room. And the best advice we can give you is go home. Because like I said, the motel was right across the parking lot from where it was. So if this guy watched me going to the motel, he's going to see what room I'm in.
Right.
It's not a hotel where you go inside and go up an elevator. I'm walking into like a Motel 6 so he can see what, you know what I mean? So I did. I had a Colleen Quinn. Do you remember her? She was a ski racer from
Right. Yeah. Yep.
He lived in Houston at the time. So I got in my car and I drove to Houston that night, right after the show, because I was scared. And I was driving the whole time looking in the rearview mirror going,
in your like little rental. Oh, you didn't have a rental car. You had your car.
Yeah, because remember, I used to drive pretty much everywhere because I hate flying. But now I still hate flying. But now I've just gotten over the driving, so I'll fly now. But yeah, it was a some blue. I don't even remember what it was. I remember it was blue 4-door sedan. Mazda. I had a Mazda Protege.
Nice.
It was a
Had a big
Mazda.
truck that could just drive right over you. Probably that's what I'd be worried about. Is like, this guy's just going to drive right over me. Just monster truck kind of thing.
Oh man. Yeah, GK's Comedy Club. That was that was the scariest it's ever been. I've plenty of comics have gotten into fist fights afterwards. That it's more common than you would think about. I don't think people talk about it, but especially today, no matter who you are or what you're saying or how you're saying it, you're going to offend somebody. Someone will find. Some people just look for, there's buzzwords, and you could say, oh man, someone punched me in the face and I got a black eye, and someone would hear black guy. He just said black guy. I said black eye. He said black guy. And you know what I mean? Like some people they're just looking, they're looking for, that in, and they'll, spot off at the mouth and, try to be the social justice warriors and shut you down. And that's just where we are today. I hope it gets better. I would think, we have a new president was sworn in yesterday, and a lot of people hated the old one. I would like to think that America would take a big sigh of relief and maybe lighten up a little bit about stuff and go, okay, let's start fresh. Maybe we don't need to be so uptight about stuff now. Hopefully it gets better. I don't know, man. I'm not a political guy. I don't know. I don't have an opinion, but I'm hoping that people can just go, hey, we have other fish to fry. We're not gonna cancel you if you accidentally, misidentified a gender.
We'll see. It's what would be the advice that you would give somebody starting out now? I mean, granted, you don't have to couch it and everything that you've just been talking about, but you've had a great life doing what you love doing. You said you're not really working because you love what you're doing.
Yeah.
What would be some, because there isn't the security, right? The security of, you don't get paid every 2 weeks. You don't have a 401k. You don't have a health plan. You don't have, I assume you have these things that you've had to purchase for yourself, but you don't have that stuff, which is part of growing older and somebody who's going to want to do this. What would you want to say? What would you say to them if they're like, yeah, man, I want to be a comic?
Now, again, there's two separate sets of advice. There's pre-pandemic and then there's post-pandemic. And as far as my health insurance and 401k are concerned, I married her in November. So that's
It's on her now. Okay.
so, but literally the best advice I would give anybody, and again, younger comics don't want to hear this, 10,000 hours. You're not going to be good until you put in, it's just getting up at laundromats but don't turn work down. Work for free. Go anywhere. Get time in front of that microphone in front of 2 people or 6 people. It doesn't matter. Nothing is going to make you better than repetition. And it's like that for, Chris, any sport, any acting, anything that you want to get good at, you have to do so much that you're not that you're sick of doing it, but that you're like, okay, I got it. Okay, I got it. So just do it over and over and over. And for younger comedians, just because a joke doesn't work doesn't mean it's not funny. Don't throw anything away. And every comic will tell you that at any level, because you can look at something 2 or 3 years, 4 years down the road and look at it and go, oh shit. All right. I can see why it didn't work then, but I know how to make it work now. Or I have a different voice now. So if it made you laugh, it's funny and it'll always be funny. So don't throw it away. Just revisit it.
Just keep retooling what you're doing.
Well, you know how many times I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. I apologize.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
But there's so many musicians talk about like, oh, they had this riff, and they never did anything with it. But then they went to revisit, Slash with Sweet Child of Mine was just noodling around. Like sometimes they put it on a later album and it's like the biggest song of their life. Because they couldn't get it to work on that 3rd album, but on the 7th album, they got a new sound or they changed the tempo or, they changed the key that it was in or whatever. And boom, that's what a joke is. It's a musical composition. And just because, you're playing in E flat right now, it might work in F sharp. So don't throw it away.
Well, it's timing. And sometimes it's the luck. And sometimes it's just whatever the inspiration is too, that you've been telling this joke forever and it hasn't been working. And then something changes and you just go in a little bit different direction. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, all right.
Yes.
Worked. That was it. It opened the key. Like you, what did I say? I don't remember what I said. Can you tell me what I said? Because I know that it worked. I just don't remember what I said.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, and it's a very common technique that a lot of comedians will do with a joke that is very edgy. Because we generally write in the first person. So if you're going to do something that is really pushing the envelope and it doesn't work, but it's funny, you can change the perspective. So instead of saying, I did this, you'd be like, you want to know how dumb my roommate is? Or you want to know how dumb my friend is? My friend is so racist. Here's what he did. And then you tell the same racist joke that you originally wrote in the first person, but now you put it on someone else. So now you're with the audience like, wow, that guy's an asshole. But isn't that joke funny? So that's a little glimpse behind the curtain of Oz. A lot of times when you see a comedian shitting on someone else for their racist or whatever perspective that isn't woke, they wrote that joke in the first person. And then that's a common technique. The comic's been doing that since the biblical times, Nice. I think Judas did that in the Garden of Gethsemane. He just changed the perspective.
So where can people find you?
Home nowadays, homeschooling the kids with Chelsea.
Private events that you're doing for people, they can come to your house.
I've the next shows that I have are at Jokesters Comedy Club in Las Vegas, March 14th through 17th. That's it. And hopefully there'll be more to follow. It's play it by ear. I just did 3 weeks in a row in Vegas. Now I got home 2 days ago. And hopefully those won't be my shows for 2021. But yeah, everything's on hold. Things aren't open in Nevada, really.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. It's the same kind of thing. And you do what you can and you keep working on your craft, and because it is a craft too. And that's one of the beautiful things, is that you might be getting older, but you're continuing to gain experience and continuing to work on that craft. And if you have a craft that you can work on throughout the rest of your life, that's
Right.
something incredibly fulfilling when those little things really mean something. That little thing is, and you know what, you get to know what that little thing is. You're like, wow, like I'm an expert now. I actually know what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway,
Yeah, dude. Well, that's the thing about art. Any art form that you do is there's no age limit. You become a better painter when you get older. Maybe your hand gets shaky, but you find a way to adapt and work around that and paint in a different color or whatever, or music or any kind of art. That's I'm going to do this till the day I die. I mean, I hope to be on my deathbed and the last thing that I say makes people in the room laugh.
or go right at a show.
Yeah. I don't want my last words to be sorry, you know. But yeah, that is because things you could always find funny in anything. And again, this is a quote from my grandmother Eleanor. She didn't make it up, but she used to say this all the time. You don't, let me get this right. You don't stop laughing when you get old. You get old because you stop laughing.
Yeah.
And so some people get so serious about themselves, you know what I mean? And they take everything too seriously. They're old souls, you know. Those of us who laugh have that Peter Pan complex, and hopefully I live to be 90 or older and I'm still cracking jokes all the time.
Well, part of it, I think, also is that you're putting yourself in uncomfortable situations,
Yeah.
which is where you
Yeah.
don't grow old as well, right? It's so easy just to think, well, I want to be secure in my life, and my life gets smaller and smaller. And if you put
Right.
yourself in an insecure situation, then you're just like, oh no, now I've got to make something happen. And all the synapses are firing, and you're actually alive
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
scared, like scare yourself a little bit. So yeah, that to me, I mean, I love what you're doing. I am completely and entirely jealous that you are funny. I mean, every once in a while I'm funny and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like, oh, they laugh. That's awesome. I wish I could just go beginning to end and actually be funny, which is why I've done open mic night, because I feel like it's one of those, one, it scares me to death. But
Right.
two, if I can learn how to be funny, then it can be useful to me as I move forward. So I'm completely jealous, but just, and also just thank you for talking us through, for revealing a bit of what comedy is all about, and what being a comedian and what being a working comedian is all about.
Right. Well, I'll I appreciate it. It was an honor to be on your show, and obviously the people watching, you and I have been friends since we were 9 and 10 years old. So it's always, and I'm glad that we've maintained that friendship. We never lost touch with each other. We've been in touch with each other since childhood. So I think that's remarkable. So we're friends over 40 years, Chris.
Yeah,
We're friends 42 years.
friends since bell bottoms kind of thing. And now they're coming back,
and
so it's
butterfly
all good.
collars. Yeah. So and you are very funny. So
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's very
and
kind.
do your viewers know that you were once in People Magazine's 50 most beautiful people alive? Do they know that? You got to put a picture of that up. I'm sorry if I embarrassed you, but you were on that soap opera and you were on that. I've been like, I wouldn't even make 50 most annoying people's list. I mean, you were, 50 most beautiful people alive, and you still look great. And this,
Oh, thank you. It's all the stylist. But no, thank you. No, that did more for, I mean, it's kind of like you talk about the changes in your career. That did more for my career than like all the medals I won, in some ways, just in
yeah,
terms of my recognizability. It's funny. And you just
yeah.
kind of go, oh, okay, well, that's a direction. I had no idea what to expect, but that's the way it works. So cool. Well, I will let you go, man. We have talked for a long time, but it's been interesting all the way along. So Rick, thanks a ton. For the people at the in the audience, please watch us. Please continue to watch it on YouTube. Go to Spotify, Apple, all those places that you find your podcasts. And we will continue to have fun, interesting people who are experts in the experience of being human. So thanks so much. Take care. Thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to Chris Waddell Living It for more stories on the adaptive community, the Paralympics, artists, athletes, entrepreneurs, experts in the experience of being human. Also follow us on Spotify, Apple, Facebook, and Instagram. I look forward to seeing you next week.